Hello and welcome to another episode of the Legend of Podcast Trails Through Trails, the podcast where we play through the long-running Trails series of video games, chapter by chapter, game by game. I am your host, Matt, and I use he/him pronouns.
And I'm your other host, Lex, and I use she/her pronouns.
And this week we are blazing a trail through the first half of Chapter 1 of Trails in the Sky, first chapter.
Except that's not what we're doing. We're doing Chapter 2.
Did I say Chapter 1?
You did.
Oh. Well... And this week we are blazing a trail through the first half of Chapter 2 of Trails in the Sky, first chapter. A thing that I can clearly say, because I remember the difference between 1 and 2, even though I'm saying both of them.
You know, the game was originally one game, and now that got split into first chapter and second chapter, so 1 and 2 are really a matter of mindset.
That's true. I'll just be in a first chapter grind set no matter where I am. But before we dive in, because there is quite a lot to talk about in this front-loaded first half of the chapter, I think, what's been going on with you, Lex? Anything going on beyond playing Trails in the Sky?
Yeah, well, other than Trails in the Sky first chapter and Trails in the Sky second chapter, and occasionally staying up too late playing Civ 6, I also went to Toronto Games Expo last weekend, which was pretty cool. I searched the whole thing for Trails merch, and I couldn't find any. No artists were selling Trails merch that I could see, which was very sad. But hopefully by the time I go to another con of some kind, our podcast will have taken off and converted the world, and everyone will be selling fan
Exactly,
art.
yes.
No, but there were a bunch of used games, retro games, and one that I picked up was The Legend of Heroes 2, The Prophecy of the Moonlight Witch, which is not number 2 in Japan. It's number 1 of the Gagarv trilogy, the Gargarv trilogy as we call it.
Yep.
Number 3 in all of Legend of Heroes, but it got localized in different order. Technically, I think all 3 games take place roughly simultaneously, but like there's stuff that you learn from one that becomes relevant to the next.
Oh, is it like different characters, different perspectives on the same?
Yeah. So the premise of it, from what I understand, the premise of the world is that it's like 3 continents that are all separated by this intense fault line, so they're all isolated, but I guess they're gonna interact with each other. So it's what's happening on each of these like adjacent continents separated by these huge fissure fault line things. I am finding it really interesting to play, though, because you can see a lot of the inspiration for Trails in the Sky in there. Well, first of all, this game, Kondo, I can't remember his given name, President Kondo, the president of Falcom, he was such a big fan of this game that he started running a fan site or a wiki, and that's how he ended up working for Falcom. So this game is the reason that Trails exists. The whole reason Trails exists is this game. Now, the English localization we got, it's not the greatest quality. It's, like, fine in terms of readability. It has some grammatical things, but, you know, so far nothing worse than, like, a this guy are sick kind of thing. But it doesn't have all the nuance. Like, there's not as much sense of personality from the characters, but Team Geofront, who did the Crossbell localizations as translations, and then eventually those ended up being purchased to be the official localizations, they announced last year that they're doing a translation of this game. They're calling it The White Witch, not Prophecy of the Moonlight Witch. There's probably a good reason for that. And we don't know when that's coming out, but they do have a policy of never announcing a project until they're sure they're going to release it. So that's exciting. But one thing that's really interesting is the premise is you have 2 characters, a boy and a girl who are like 14, 15, who are doing a pilgrimage through the continent to 5 towns together for like traditional reasons. And it's really interesting looking at it and being like, that's what Trails in the Sky first chapter is. It's very different in terms of experience, but there's some ideas that are really, I'm like, hey, you're like a little, I see you.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting because, as we'll probably note towards the end of this episode, that's a common trend in the Hero/Trails games, sort of incubating an idea in one game and then delivering a full-ass video game about it a few years later.
Oh, yeah.
I was actually, when you told me that you'd found this at the convention, I, was jealous, because I can't remember if it's Legend of Heroes 2 or 3 that manga screenshot came from, but it's one of them.
I think that's 3. I think that's the one that's localized as 1 in English, but was 2 or 3 in the original. I think it's Tear of Vermilion, because I was looking it up. But I'm going to play them all and find manga, no matter what I do. I'll find the manga spot for you.
I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Because I looked and it turns out that neither of these games ever got released here. Like outside of North America, it just was not released. So I've never had an opportunity to play this. So I might have to experience that virtually through my little Anbernic emulation device that I picked up and immediately bricked by accident, which is my own fault. But it plays PSP games. I could be playing Trails on there if I really wanted to. I will say, given how much running back and forth I did during the course of this week's episode's events, I'm so glad that there's a fast forward feature because that... man, I miss fast travel. I miss it really badly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I would be interested to check this out to kind of expand the knowledge and, see those ingredients of the future.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to play the localization. Even though I'm playing this version this year, I'm going to play the localization that Geofriend is working on when it comes out. It's also a localization of the PC version, which apparently has some more complexity in the combat system and stuff. There were a few things they had to truncate for the PSP game, from what I understand. But I don't think it did very well in North America, which is probably why they never sent it to Australia. That sounds like that sounds kind of weird, but they probably... I don't know if the Europe got it either. Like sometimes
as far as I can tell, they did not. There's no European or worldwide release date. Yeah, this is Wikipedia research, so take it with a grain of salt. But it does seem like it reviewed pretty badly, 65% or thereabouts.
Yeah, and it's really reviewed really highly in Japanese. Like apparently the localization, a lot of it comes from the nuance of the character writing and the coming of age journey, and that's just a lot of it. From what I'm finding, it's like you can read through the bad localization to see that there's a really good script originally behind it, but you have to be playing with that lens of looking at what was this probably trying to get across. Yeah.
I mean, from what I can see, it was originally released in 1994 and came to the PSP in Japan in 2004. So it was already a bit of an artifact at that point.
Oh, absolutely. The art's so pretty, though. I love the guidebook I have. The instruction manual, not guidebook.
Oh, like a physical book with it. Ooh.
Yeah, it's got a physical because it was it came in the box. It wasn't just a cartridge, it wasn't just a disc. So
wow, it's impressive sometimes to find it feels like the really rare, hard to find secondhand games of this ilk always come in the worst condition. It's the most highly sought after game, and you'll find it just encased in a brick of dirt or something.
I know, but this was really good. I'm really shocked at how good it is. I'm not sure it was ever played. This might just be a new copy, essentially.
A collector copy. Ooh, you gotta love it.
What about you?
I haven't uncovered any legend gems this week, but I have been playing a handful of games. Shocker. The same suspects as last week. We have Assassin's Creed Shadows. I'm still loving running around. I'm finally learning about the Assassin's Guild at this point.
Oh, yeah.
As they call it, the Kakushiba Ikki, which is just fun to say. Because early on in the game, Ikki is like a league in Japanese. It's sort of the word for league. But initially in the game, they're referring to their group as the Ikko Ikki, which I think is like a region or something. But it's just fun to say. Anyway, running around, I'm learning why I have a knife on my hand. It's very exciting. Ooh. Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. I'm about to have a flying mech as soon as I get through one more mission. That's very exciting because I was so excited to get my mech only to find that there was just another layer of gated off areas until I could fly through the sky. But I'm getting there. I'm just sort of taking a break from that at the moment because I was playing it very intensely as my podcast game and I don't want to burn out on it.
Oh, for sure.
Other than Trails in the Sky, the one other game I'm playing about, which at time of recording I'm not allowed to talk about, but at time of podcast episode release I can. I've just this morning received my code for reviewing Clair Obscur Expedition 33, the world's first FRPG, French role-playing game. I'm very excited. I barely opened it up because I had more important things to talk about this morning, obviously. But I am excited to see what it's like to be 33 again. Just flashback to the past. It's like, oh yeah, I remember when I was 33 and everyone 1 year older than me disintegrated into rose petals, and then I had to go fight a woman in the arts. So...
I love it. I love it. That's what it must have been like. That's exactly what your life was like when you were 33.
I'm pretty sure. I remember it being a lot like that. I also had a robot hand at 33.
Maybe at that point, the Paintress was like the Microsoft Paintress.
Nice. I like that.
Thank you. I was like, is that going to be really bad or it's going to work? But I got to shoot my shot. Always go for the pun.
It can be both.
It can be both.
It's quite fun. I haven't really gotten that far into it yet. Literally 45 minutes. But it is jarring to recognize Shadowheart's voice from Baldur's Gate 3 immediately.
Oh yeah.
It's just I'm just waiting for the new character to announce that she's God's favorite princess and the most interesting girl in the world. But I'll come back to that. Hopefully, yes, by the time this episode comes out, my review should be live on Stevivor, the website I've been writing for over a decade.
Everyone should go read.
I will put a link in the show notes if you want to go check that out. It's not about trails, though, so I don't blame you if you don't want to.
After all, we know who the most special girl in the world really is. It's Estelle Bright, and we have to catch up with her.
Exactly. She's the most interesting, special, orange-hairedest, homely-faced, according to some of the people in this episode, woman in the world.
She can't catch a break. Everyone is just, like, nagging her constantly.
Yeah, for the liberal kingdom, this place is really misogynist.
They're liberal, but they're not woke.
Ah, that's it. We've got to go to the woke kingdom next. I'm assuming that's where second chapter takes place. But on that note, should we start talking about Trails in the Sky, first chapter, chapter 2, part 1?
Let's do it.
Leave it to me!
So, this chapter starts, we're on a black screen, and there's a man's voice speaking, and he seems to be reporting on the events of chapter 1. You know, there was air pirate guys and sky bandits, there was all sorts of chaos, and he's reporting on it, and then we come in on a shot of an airship, and it's Olivier, who's speaking on some sort of portable communication device, and reporting in to somebody else about everything that's going on.
Yeah, he's just secretly busted out his Motorola Razr, maybe, on the deck of the ship. I also noticed, I love a vague illusion in these games. So Mr. Mystery, talking on the dark screen, does mention that they couldn't meet him in the end.
Him.
The eponymous him, or one of the several hymns that we've had referred to. Yes. It's hard to tell.
This one we'll learn pretty soon who it is. This one we're about to find out, but...
Nice. But he does mention another power is at work here. So there's another player in the game. But yes, it's Olivier on the Lind, on the phone, and
he also says, don't get caught looking into things by the Chancellor. So...
Yes.
Clearly, this is, like, somebody connected that he's talking to. It's not just, like, his old drinking buddy. It's interesting. There's some intrigue going on right here. But then, yes, Shira busted on him. Before this, Olivier does end the call by saying, my dear friend, and then says to the camera that he loves messing with this guy. So this is clearly his boyfriend.
Stuffy, upright guy, yes.
Yes. So Olivier just gets off the phone with his boyfriend, who may or may not be well connected to in some political spheres, if he's got to avoid the Chancellor of something noticing what he's up to. But yeah, Shira goes, a portable phone, because she's jealous of that Motorola Razr.
She's pretty sus because as far as we know, we still only have radios and landline phones that are installed at guild branches. So she's saying, what are you doing with this fancy tech? You've got this crazy advanced orbment that we've never seen before either. And then cool title alert, not really. She refers to him as Mr. Erebonian Operative.
Yeah, Olivier tries to distract her at first. He's like, oh, well, I'm still the guy you know and love, and let's have a drink and blah, blah, blah. And Shira goes, how about we skip the foreplay and go straight to the climax? Like, I do enjoy the constant innuendos that these two have going on when they talk to each other. Not necessarily when they talk to other people, but when they're bouncing off of each other, it's fun.
It is funny to see Shira firstly shut him down for all his horny advances, only to immediately turn around and say, like, I'm gonna whip you in a sexy way, ?
Yeah.
But yeah, she kind of accuses him of playing a role, like, as a cover, and he just goes, lol, nah, I'm just a hedonist. It's not a cover. No.
She also says that she pretended not to notice that there was something up with him in front of Estelle and Joshua, but that she picked up on something right from the start. And Olivier, first of all, the first thing he wants to correct her on isn't his motives. It's the fact that this isn't an ornament or an invention of Erebonia. This is an artifact. So there's something really funny about the fact that he's like, oh, this secret hit, this thing I really shouldn't have is even more of a thing I shouldn't have. But don't worry, Erebonia didn't invent it. They don't know how to make these either.
Yeah, he's just low-key using a holy relic as, like, a WhatsApp interface.
Exactly. And then he says that, yes, I'm an Erebonian operative, but don't worry, I'm not here to sabotage anything or to spy or get secrets. I'm actually here to meet Cassius. And then we get, for real, a cool title alert.
Cool title alert.
Divine Blade.
The Divine Blade, Cassius Bright. Referred to as a supreme swordsman and master strategist.
He says specifically that 4 people on the continent hold this title, which I'm sitting here trying to count on my fingers. He was here to meet Cassius, and that's...
Let's bleep this out. I want to see if I can list them. We've got... Oh, at this stage in time, we've got...
We'll bleep this out, but no, I don't... Unless is being counted as one, and was already a divine... If he was by then, we don't know exactly how old he is, but I would have thought... would have been a teenager.
So it's Cassius...
probably gets to call himself a Divine Blade. From the Crossbell games, and then later. But there are only, I'm guessing it has to be that they're talking about, because was, the third that people knew about. I don't know how Olivia would know. It could be that this is, a thing they retconned later, but...
I would say they're just kind of, setting a scene for themselves to fill in the blanks later. It's if it's weird if he's the only Divine Blade, but if there's a couple of them and we can just kind of decide who that is later, that's pretty fun. But yeah.
So then we finish up on our little airship scene. We fade out and get back to our young star, our most special and interesting girl in the world, Estelle, and she and Joshua are gonna walk to Ruan.
I've been saying it Ruan. We're going to learn so much when the remake comes out and we realize we've been saying all these names completely wrong. We also get our title card for this chapter.
Yes, pretty early.
Yes, I don't recall seeing them early in the chapters previously. Maybe I was just...
We got the prologue one fairly early. We got it after we went to bed. And then maybe there was a disappearance of the Lind one early in chapter 1 that I just forgot about. Maybe we get it twice per chapter. At the end of a chapter and then somewhere near the beginning.
But yeah, it's chapter 2, Madrigal of the White Magnolia, which really tells you nothing.
So we
all I can think about is the family Madrigal from Encanto, so I'm assuming it's not that. Family Madrigal of the White Magnolia. Anyway, we're headed to Ruan from Bose, and Estelle wants to walk, which I was kind of surprised by. She seems like she's not that interested in doing all the hard work, because she's always paperwork, learning. But then
I think she's okay with hard work as long as it's physical. I think it's just that she doesn't want to... I think she just has an undiagnosed learning disability. That's what I've come to think. I think maybe she's dyslexia, and she really struggles with paperwork and with sitting and studying for exams like that. Because whenever they're you're gonna have to work hard to become a good abrasive, she's yeah, I'm all in for hard work. It's only written types of hard work. So maybe it's her ADHD, maybe it's dyslexia. I think she has an undiagnosed learning disability, and everyone's just ragging on her for it. But she's willing to do hard work as long as she gets to be physically moving and not reading.
Yeah. It is very respectable that she wants to put in the work. She very reasonably says, Divine Dad told us that we should get to know the country that we want to protect and serve.
Divine Dad.
Divine Dad.
I'm thinking of Father Divine. I'm also thinking of our Father who art in heaven. I'm also thinking of... It's it all comes together.
Oh, there it is.
That's what Jesus says, Divine Dad.
Father Divine is one of the secret 4 Divine Blades. I think that's the reveal that's coming.
Oh my god, that's so true. That's so true. we know he has some sort of dark secret past, because we got that one line about, when he scolds people, he's really scolding himself, and he implied that Joshua has sins of his past, so... Maybe Father Divine killed a lot of people in his warrior past, and became a priest to...
He's the Divine Blade when he's in his priest forms, but when he's in drag, he's the Divine Sheath. That's nasty. Anyway.
That's awful, but I kind of love it. By the end of these games, we're going to have, written an entire, 100,000 word fan fiction about Father Divine, just, speaking about him.
I think so.
I'm excited for that. So I did some cleanup of side quests before I left Bose. I picked up a stolen ring when we were in the bandits' hideout, so I gave that back to a lady, and she was glad. She was like, "This is my mom. I'm a mentor of my mother." And Estelle has kind of a moment of oh, that must be really special, where you can tell that she gets what it's like to have something of your mom's that means a lot to you. I also went all the way.
It's very sweet that she has her mom's ring back. It's less sweet that her mom named her Lorna, which is Laura with an N. I don't know if your mom loved you as much as you loved her, because that's a bad name. But she gets her ring back, which is lovely.
Yeah.
Next for me, I headed up to Harkengate with
too.
the black notebook that I found inside a vacuum cleaner back at the Sky Bandit hideout. I didn't really find anything that told me where to go with that. I sort of had to rely on walkthrough. Is there actually an NPC somewhere who tells you, oh, maybe someone at Harkengate is missing a black notebook that was in a vacuum cleaner?
No. What there is if you have dialogue with, I can't remember if he's the owner of the ordnance shop or the owner of the weapon shop, but the guy at the thing, if you talk to him throughout the last chapter, there's all this stuff basically that he's now stolen the business out from the founder of it. You pick together that he's scammed him out of his business and is doing something, and like and you can find this other guy like drinking. I think he's like drinking in the bar, being like, I can't believe I trusted the wrong person and he scammed me out of all my business, whatever. So if you were following that and like checking in on this dialogue, then you might be like, it might click to you, but no, you really just kind of have to like, even then, like, the only reason you'd put together the Hawken Gate is if you're like, I guess he was arrested. I think if you go to the store today, they're like, they arrested him, but they haven't convicted him or something, and that maybe is really obscure. Like, even if you are following it, it's not clear. But
yeah, thank God you're here, because I would miss these things entirely. I thought I was doing well at talking to NPCs this session, and apparently I missed everyone because I didn't get a whiff of this storyline. But that's so cool that like it's not just progression. It's like there's big stuff going on under the surface. Everyone else is not just kind of standing in place waiting for Estelle and Joshua to walk into town. It makes the world feel very alive, which I enjoy.
It does. But yeah, so it turns out the Black Book was his secret ledger because he was like skimming stuff off the top or scamming people. I don't know, doing some sort of white collar crime with it. Like money.
First thing I did when I got to the gate was go talk to General Morgan, because we're his favorite people in the whole wide world. He basically had nothing to say. He's just like, what are you doing here? Piss off. So I just kept wandering the base. I ended up completely by accident finding where I'm meant to go with this black notebook, because the first time I went to Hawken Gate, I did not notice there was a downstairs. I missed those stairs entirely. So I just said, I was walking around going, I wonder where I need to go with this. Oh, some stairs. And I went down there, and lo and behold, that's exactly where I need to be.
It's the prison that we were in. It's just we didn't walk in when we got put in prison. We just showed up.
I did not connect the dots, yeah.
Well, no, because we didn't walk in. The screen went black and we found ourselves in prison.
But yeah, Mr. Nigel is in the prison cell. He's been accused of some shady business and is standing there going, ha ha ha, where is your proof? Huh? Where's your proof? Get some proof. Prove it.
And we do. And we have it on us.
We're like, oh, proof? Do you mean, hi, I'm a 16-year-old who just walked into this detention facility. I have a book here with...
numbers that I don't understand.
With some numbers. Yeah. Are these numbers the numbers that you want? Turns out they are. Fantastic. So Nige gets locked up for realsies because they prove that he has taken over the factory. So it was the Orbital factory, because I made a note of that.
Right, yes.
We hand over the book, at which point Nigel, panicking, claims that the devil made him do it.
Yeah, I remember.
Kind of threw me, because as far as I know, there's not the devil in the mythology of...
In the Septian Church, no, there isn't. There are devils, but those are like just like demons, like that supposedly exist on like separate planes. They're just like a type of monster. Like, no, there's nothing like that. So I guess he...
At least in later games, they refer to not as hell, but as Gehenna, which is a term from Jewish theology, I believe.
I thought it was Norse. I should know this. Let me check.
Oh, so Gehenna, the term they use for hell, is, in our world, a term used in the New Testament and Jewish eschatology to refer to a place of divine punishment. Eschatology.
Oh, I did know that. Eschatology is, it means the study of the end times, actually. That I should know because I did a minor in world religion, so it's really embarrassing that, with a focus on Christian and Jewish theology, this is really embarrassing. But yeah, eschatology is the name of my favorite Atelier game. Esca and Logi, but in Japanese it's Toology, so it's just a pun.
I remember you mentioning that in Discord before. I love a pun, and it's nice to see them happening in Japanese.
Yes. So...
I also, on your advice, hiked out to Nebel Pass again to get the recipe for the Abaddon potluck.
Yeah.
It was also around the time that I realized that most of the food items you can eat, you do learn the recipe for them. It's not just ones you can get at pubs and stuff. I had
pretty much everything.
A sandwich in my bag, and I ate it, and it's like, you know how to make a tomato sandwich now. Awesome.
Yeah, any food pretty much you eat. Unless, like, if it's part of a story cutscene, no, but if it's a food that you can buy and eat, then yes. Yeah. It's pretty great.
Realistically, at least at this stage, the ones I have are pretty meaty healing, so it is worthwhile using them instead of just tear bombs, despite the fact that those tear bomb / basic potions are in almost every chest I opened this chapter.
Yeah, you don't need to buy those most of the time. Maybe EP charges, but like tear bombs, you get so many.
Yeah. So after completing those first few quests, this was also about the time that I moved up to junior 5th class for my bracer rank. It was very exciting. I got a new quartz. It's always nice to be rewarded for getting promoted. Yes, I think it was Hayes at this point.
I didn't write this down, but yeah, that's nice. That monsters don't notice you in the field, which is great when you just want to like get through, because you do a lot of that in this chapter.
I was using a combination of Haze, which stops them from chasing you, and Eagle Eye, which makes them show up both on the minimap and sort of further away. So when I was at points where I was just needing to charge from A to B through monsters that weren't really going to give me any XP anymore, it was really handy to just go turbo mode, Benny Hill, and run around everyone on the way there.
So at this point, I went off to Crone Pass. I kind of wrapped up everything I needed to do. Did you do anything else in the Bose area, or just head off?
I did do a bit of a runaround because after we left Roland and that was sort of our end point, I got the feeling that it's probably going to be a consistent thing. So I wanted to do a bunch of stuff before I left town. So first of all, I got the new issue of the newspaper and read all of the ones that I've stacked up so far. Gotta say, the LaBelle News reads like a tabloid. It's not a very integrinous publication. I did learn that Mayor Maybell is 21, which is an insanely young age for a mayor.
Oh my god.
There's a new airship being built, a super deluxe military airship, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. Or I think royal commissioned by the royal family, something like that. For the airship, or for the military.
They said, this is going to help us police the country. Watch out, do-badders, which is not a word. I appreciate the effort of trying to flip do-gooders, but do-badders is not a word. Learn about a towel optional sauna in Zeiss, which are going to be out originally. Eventually. Yes. I wonder if that's going to come up. They named the Sky Bandit ship, which I don't think we got the name for it at any point prior to this. It's called the Bobcat.
No, I don't think they mentioned it before that.
And for reference, that's my favorite airship so far, the one with a little face on the front of it.
Yeah.
They mentioned that the Queen's nephew is also visiting Ruan at the time that we're going to arrive. No name or anything, because I guess if you're reading the newspaper, you should already know that. Great reporting quality from Niall. Oh, there was a gossip piece about Olivier stealing...
Yes, I love that made it.
What do they call it? A blind item where they don't call him out by name, but they do say, a wandering bard and musician caused some shit in town, which I really enjoyed. But yeah, that was about it. I ran around. No one else had anything new to say. There was nothing to buy. So it was time to pop on to Crone Trail.
Yeah, I didn't get the newspaper until I got to Ruan, but I did read all that, but just later. So some things I had already kind of heard other things about from my surroundings. We'll get to that, though. Yeah, I headed off to Crone checkpoint, and we get there. It's sunset pretty much by the time we get there, and since Crone Pass is notoriously a pretty dangerous area to go in the best of times, you're not supposed to go at night, so we ask if we can stay the night, and the soldiers there generously say, yeah, of course, sleep and eat our food. Estelle's there's like a really funny line, I forgot to screenshot, where Estelle, of narration where Estelle apparently looks at them with really big puppy dog eyes, so they'll hopefully give her free food too. I was like, I love you, Estelle.
She's really gonna give it a try every single time. I did find it funny that Josh was like, it's too dangerous to travel at night, we'd better sleep. And my first thought was just, he'd never do well in Dragon's Dogma. But they stay at the gate. They criticize their orbital heaters. It's very kind of boomer language. They're talking about an orbital heater fireplace isn't nearly as good as a fireplace. It's like, okay, you're staying for free, dude. Calm down.
It's kind of funny. I think I got the impression it was more like one of those moments of the wedding. It's way more convenient to have these, but there is something I think it's part of a trend. If you see a number of people comment throughout the games commenting on the reliance on orb mitts and how there's positives and negatives to it, and I think it's interesting to think that even these teenagers who have had orb mitts all of their lives are still kind of thinking about how sometimes real fire is nicer than a artificial fireplace or something like that.
But the thing is, it's not even that it's not a heater. It's, I've got a little heater here in my room. It's great because you turn it on and it heats up immediately. But this is a click to activate fireplace. So it's basically a fireplace that casts firebolt on itself, I guess.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't burn as pretty. I don't know. Or maybe it's not as hot somehow. It's weird. I'd like to know the details. We also, when we get to eat, they comment to us, the soldiers are like, by the way, it's, I can't remember the name, but this soldier's turn to cook tonight, so I hope you have strong stomachs, full disclosure. And Estelle's like, this food is great, I don't know why they were complaining, and Joshua's like, yeah, it, sure is something.
Yeah, they clearly went to the Estelle Bright School of Culinary Coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to know that she has company. Shortly after that, the warrant officer wanders in and asks if we mind having a third join us.
Oh, there was one more thing that I forgot to comment, that when they get permission to stay overnight, Estelle's like, wow, when we're not fighting with General Morgan, soldiers are actually really nice. And Josh was like, I think Liberl is the only place you'll meet friendly, nice soldiers. And then Estelle's like, what do you mean? And Josh was like, nothing, never mind. And it's really interesting is that he is he gives this side eye and is like, yeah, you'll never meet nice soldiers anywhere but Liberl. I'm like, where have you met soldiers before, Joshua, that weren't from Liberl?
Yeah, really destroying Estelle's worldview and explaining the concept of military brutality, I suppose.
I guess so.
But yes, the warrant officer asks if we mind having a third join us in our rooms, and guess who it is? It's everyone's favorite jerkface. It's Agate Krosner. Krosner? It's Agate.
Krosner? I have heard this said out loud before, and I'm still forgetting now. Wow, that's bad. It's Agate.
It's Heavy Blade Agate.
Heavy blade guy. Big sword.
Of course, he's a complete jerk. He just wanders in and starts poking at them relentlessly. Estelle accuses his headband of being too tight and cutting off circulation to his good manners, I suppose. But apparently, the Divine Dad also offloaded some work to Agate that he does not disclose exactly what it is. But
which is interesting. Agate doesn't even work at the same branch as him. So it's like, how many pies did Cassius have his fingers in that like people all over the country are taking up work for him?
How often is he delegating, and why is he taking so many jobs if he can't like handle his shit?
I mean, I know that what happened now was clearly not planned, but also, like, he apparently has to travel all the time. This can't be the first time he has to leave unexpectedly when he has a bunch of work piled up.
Yeah, he's just traveling around the country.
Like a phone tree of, like, who you call to delegate. Like, you know how parents, at school, there's, like, a phone tree of, like, if school gets canceled for something, then which parent calls the next parent, That's the Bracer Girls have that for when Cassius has shit come up.
They're just like, geez, more jobs went up on the board. Cassius took all of them, so stand by for which ones you're going to be doing. But yeah, he just kind of wanders in, makes fun of everyone, drops a bomb that Dad's handed off work to him as well, and then just goes to bed and yells at them for making noise when he's decided it's bedtime.
Yeah, and it sounds like, can we doodle on his face while he sleeps? I don't think he'll wake up, which I love. I'm like, bummed Joshua didn't let her.
Yeah, I do like that he has like a little custom on the bed sprite as well, similar to Olivier's passed out one. His is very like cool guy. Arms behind his head, leg kicked up. I appreciate all these little touches that it's not just him with his eyes closed, horizontal.
Horizontal. No, it is nice. I love how much character they managed to give these little sprites.
They are quite detailed. I've also noticed in playing around with how far I can push the settings of this very old game on my struggling MacBook. The shadows are really nicely rendered in this as well, I've noticed. The sprites are obviously sprites, not 3D models, but they have 3D shadows that sort of pivot and change. On high quality, they also overlap, so if there's multiple people's shadows, they get darker. It's just a level of detail that I wasn't expecting. But it is nice. You see the little shadow of Estelle's twin tails as she does her stuff.
Yeah.
It's a level of detail that I really appreciate.
But eventually our kids go to bed too. Everyone goes to sleep. And then we get woken up in the middle of the night because a pack of wolves, seemingly, attacks the checkpoint somehow.
Yeah, just a pack of wolves get past those orbital light posts
things
that are meant to keep people off the road and away from towns and stuff. And a bunch of wolves. The enemy type is called Doberman, so...
Attack Doberman, specifically, and the description says that they're disciplined for attack, which makes me think that they're trained military dogs, not just random wolves. But we don't get follow-up on that.
No, because we kill them. The soldiers take out the ones on the Bose side of
East
the gate.
East side, yeah.
Where Estelle and Joshua have rushed out to try and help, and Agate just says, no, this is their job, let them do it. So we say, okay. Immediately followed by, there's more monsters on the other side.
And only one guy, for some reason, posted there. Everyone's posted on one side, not the other. Like, what?
Military strategy, not good.
No.
But we run over. Agate joins us for the fight, which is very exciting. He warns us not to get in the way of his heavy blade. Like, we know it's heavy, guy. That's your name. You can just say, stay out of the way of my sword. You don't have to, like, brand it every time. But it's a fun little fight. He's very effective in this fight.
Oh, yeah. He's great. It's like, you kind of get, like, oh, yeah, I get why you're so cocky. Like, you are great.
Yeah.
In the fight. Doesn't excuse you being an asshole all the time, but I get why you're kind of cocky. And then to his credit, afterwards, he does say that we're better than he expected. And he even gives us credit when talking to the soldier. He's like, yeah, they helped out. It wasn't all me. And I'm like, okay, I guess you're willing to at least admit that you were partially wrong about... He still thinks that we're like brats who are too carefree, but he's like, you're better than I thought. I underestimated you. I'm like, okay, I guess it's nice that you'll at least admit that your first impression was wrong, even if you're still an asshole.
It's like, oh my god, thank you, Agate. We worked really hard. I grinded.
Yeah.
But we wake up in the morning. Everyone's a bit confused about the attack because
Estelle is just like me when she wakes up. She has no idea where she is at all. That's me whenever I wake up and I'm not ready. I'm just like, think I'm still in my dream. And I love that she's like, are we going to the guild today? And Josh was like, we're at the checkpoint. We're on our way to Ruan. Where do you think we are?
I think Estelle is the one who needs to be having someone jump on her bed to wake her up. Because Joshua would never. But yeah, that's all sorted. Agat's already left in the morning. He just took off without us. Unsurprising, but still rude. Then it's time to sign our visa on, once again, pre-prepared paperwork and
So
enter
convenient.
the Ruan region. It's interesting to me that there's so many visa, passport checkpoints within the one country. It's very locked down.
It is. I wonder if it's supposed to be after the invasion 10 years ago, if they've really cracked down on this, because maybe, and I don't know, I do not know if there was a lack of if people got in through various checkpoints in different regions and then were able to spring attacks on people because it wasn't, so they really locked down on travel between regions, because not locking down that allowed war, bad stuff to happen. I don't know that. I have no idea. I'm just speculating, because I'm it's so, I guess for video game reasons, it's so that you can't go back to the last area. But in terms of world building reasons, I'm there has to be some sort of reason.
There has to be, but because it's very regimented. You can't go to the neighboring town without all your documentation on hand, which seems like it would really limit to people. It made me think that maybe LeBeau was originally a series of smaller countries that banded together into a unified republic monarchy or something, and that's why there's sort of these individual lines within the country, but who knows?
Yeah.
So, with our visa sorted, it is time to head into the Ruan region, starting with the Manoria Byroad, where Estelle sees the ocean for the first time. Hooray!
Yeah, it's really cute. She's just it smells nice, and it's so pretty and so big. It's just really, really sweet.
And you get a really nice panoramic shot out of the big wide ocean as well, which I found quite impressive. There's not a lot of detail, obviously. It's a big flat ocean texture, but it does give a real great sense of scope for this area that I then completely ignored every time I was just turboing down the road from then on.
Yeah, though also, I feel you get some, ludo-narrative, marriage going on here, because you also feel relieved and free, because you can control the camera again, when on the last road, you could not change you couldn't move the camera around, and here you can. It's I too feel I've seen the ocean and been set free now that I'm on Manoria Byroad.
Yeah, the Crone Trail locked perspective, they really go hard on it by putting chests behind trees and stuff that normally you'd be able to spot easily by swinging the camera, but not so much here. I don't understand where the choice is one way or the other. I can kind of understand it with Crone Trail, because you'd have to render the other direction a bunch.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I wonder if it's to create, because Crone Trail is supposed to be a really, treacherous mountain pass. I wonder if it's to create that feeling of it, something like that. It's interesting.
Maybe.
But yeah, we continue down the byroad. I detour over to the lighthouse at one point when I see that, and I went and talked to an old man who was incredibly rude to me constantly.
Vogt? I'm not sure how you'd say his name.
Me neither.
Vogt. Mr. Vogt.
Yeah, he runs the lighthouse, and he's left the door open at one point, and now monsters are inside and needs us to clean it up. But he just keeps yelling at us about how we're no good youngins who aren't respectful and are bad at being bracers. So we still go in and clean up all the monsters, and then afterwards he yells at us for not asking if he needs anything else before we go on our way.
He's a complete tool.
And I'm we had other places to be. You didn't request our help at the guild or anything. You just... Come on, man.
Yeah, this was one of the screenshots I grabbed. Estelle's line is great. After fixing all the monsters for him, he's ranting and raving. You're not doing enough. Also talking up this other blade that he's deeply in love with. He's got a man crush on. He's oh, he helped me last time, and he was so nice, and he was young, and he was handsome, and he was strong. And Estelle just goes, well, I can't tell you how much I'm simply loving this abusive lecture of yours. You were saying something about needing assistance? And then after the job, criticizing their behavior. Don't forget, as you flex your bracer muscles in the future, to flex hardest the strongest muscle of them all, the caring muscle.
It's great. There's more. We'll have more about this guy later in this section of this chapter, in this episode. And I actually enjoy what they do with it. But yeah, he's just such a dick relentlessly to Estelle and Joshua here. It's come on, man.
Estelle, I thought I just left it in my notes as man crush as a joke, but I forgot that, yes, Estelle specifically refers to this blade as his man crush. Tell us more about this man crush of yours so we can better ourselves in his image and get you off our backs.
Yeah, she's got the best lines.
She's not taking anyone's shit. She's not very good at customer service. But that's fine. Now that we've detoured in the opposite direction of where we need to go, it's time to head on to Manoria, which is where the Manoria Byroad goes.
Yeah, and I wrote in my notes here, because I was using the spell Aerial a lot in combat, and after you use wind spells, there's a whooshing sound that plays for a bit, and I love that touch so much, and I keep meaning to bring it up every episode, and I forget, but I just love the whooshing.
The environmental effect that I caught was later on, there's some waterfalls, and there's a lot of waterfall effects, not just in the screen where you're right in front of it, but you can sort of faintly hear it throughout that building, which is a really nice touch to, kind of create that unified world. Manoria is a nice little town, though. It's very rustic, and I learnt quickly that it's kind of died off because the town's been cut off from being a major artery road by the introduction of airships. So people just fly overhead.
Yeah.
So they're no longer trading anything but the flowers that they grow, which means that all of their other industries have died, which definitely feels like one of those things you mentioned where we're hearing the dark side of the Orbital Revolution. Like, here's where it's having a negative impact.
Yeah. It's also really nice to just have confirmation that not every region only has one town. It's like, hey, there's actually two settlements of people. I mean, I guess Ravenue Village was in the last one too, but like, you still kind of get the impression of each city has a region and it's all of them. But it's nice to have more than one town in an area, I find.
More than 12 to 15 people in your entire world experience, yeah.
Exactly.
But once we get there, it's Purple Hair Girl time.
Yes, it's Purple Hair Girl time! We love purple hair.
So coming out of the inn where they got their lunches, Estelle blunders straight into a woman standing outside.
Yes.
And
it's a meet cute. She's a meet cute with this girl. Where they stumble into each other and then,
It's a 3-way meet cute.
Yes.
Turns out this girl she's looking for a little boy who's gone missing. We say we'll keep an eye out. And she charges off on her own. Then we go have our box lunches out on the lovely ocean view, as recommended by the mayor, I believe.
Joshua loves saffron. He keeps commenting on every line about saffron. It's so, because he's having a paella, which made me so hungry. My notes say, this scene makes me hungry. I want paella. But every line is like, the smell of saffron is great. And then he tastes and goes, the saffron is really well melt. Like, every line he has about the food is about saffron. He's
such
obsessed.
A fucking foodie. Talking about the saffron balance. This is a big thing. I think not just in the Trails games, but Japanese RPGs as a whole, Japanese media as a whole, like, everyone deeply describes every flavor of the thing they're eating to a level of sophistication that I would not expect from a 16-year-old country bumpkin.
Yeah,
saffron,
it's great, though. And Estelle, clearly he does a good job of talking it up because Estelle wants to taste it. She's never had paella, so she makes him feed her because her hands are full. And he's like, this is embarrassing. And she's like, nobody can see it. And she's just like, feed me, feed me. So he gives her a bite. She's like, that's great seafood, but wait, I should share. And she shoves her sandwich in his mouth and just like chokes him with it. And he's like, you didn't have to do that. And she's like, I know. It's so long.
I love these little moments. There's just the extreme closeness of them that's always kind of played with two layers because they're very at ease with each other, Estelle especially, but Joshua has some other feelings going on we're sort of getting hints of. So there's always sort of a second layer. We got an interesting bit. When we met Purple-Haired Girl a moment ago, Joshua was kind of like dumbstruck for a moment and watching her even after she left. And Estelle's like, oh, you have a crush on her. And Estelle seems very happy. Like, she's clearly proud of herself to have like put this together and have this theory. And like, she's not jealous or weird about it. She's like really into it. And Joshua's like, no, she just looks familiar. And Estelle's like, sure, try a better line. Like, it's very, she's just enjoying being able to tease him about a potential crush. But anyway, after we finish this sharing is caring food scene, we see a white falcon fly by. A photorealistic eagle. Yes. It's weirdly detailed. They think it's a seagull. Yeah. At first they're like, it's too big for a seagull. I think they say, is it a seagull? But no, it's too big. I'm like, maybe it's further away than it looks. Like, they just see a white thing flying. They're like, only seagulls around here. I don't know. But, I'm sure that won't come up again. Oh, no, definitely not. So, like, maybe it's good luck. And then she immediately walks into another person, so it wasn't good luck. She's not doing well today. No. She runs into a kid. It's a little boy with cap. I feel like we heard about a little boy with a cap quite recently, so... Quite recently. They let him know that the girl is looking for him, whose name we don't know yet. We don't know it yet. Purple Hair is looking for him. He's apparently a troublemaker because he runs off and quickly after Estelle realizes that he's stolen her bracer emblem. Yeah, immediately Josh was like, did you lose anything just now? Like, before he even knows what it is, he's like, that kid is clearly a pickpocket. And Estelle's like, my pouch is still there, my clothes are still on, my bracer emblem's gone. I'm glad that she had to check that her clothes were still on. And then we have to go and ask around town to see if they've seen him. And the flower shop girl knows who the kid is, and he's
an orphan at the orphanage. And she then says, I'll mark it on your map so you find it. And I wish I had checked before to see if it was... I doubt that the map actually changes, given how old this is. But it would be cool if it wasn't... If Mercy Orphanage was not marked on your map until after you talk to her. Because it doesn't make sense that it would be marked on a like, kingdom map of, like, this tiny little house.
That's true. But nice of her to, like, match the style of the map when she adds it in, at least.
It is.
So at the orphanage, we head down the road to get there.
We get to the orphanage, and first we see the kid bragging about how he got this cool thing, and then Estelle immediately starts chasing him, and right as she's caught him, purple-haired girl sicks a white falcon on her, because I guess she's like, why are you beating up this small child? Thinks it's a thief. And then we realize, wait, no, you're not a thief. The kid's a thief. You're just beefing with a little kid again, because that's your MO, Estelle.
That's your vibe.
Of course.
Also, Estelle threatens to spank the child.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm gonna spank your butt raw or something, which is a wild thing to say to a stranger.
I wonder. I'd be very curious if that's what it is in the original Japanese. If it's the same, if it's a localization thing. If there's, I have no idea what Japan's like on corporeal punishment, so I can't really speak to that. But it is. But she also, Estelle, I think you get this impression every time the orphanage thing comes up. Estelle looks a little bit like sadder, more distressed, and then it's like, no, it doesn't matter if it's an orphanage. This kid's a thief and he needs to be punished. Like, it's like because she feels bad for him, she's trying to like reverse psychology herself into like not, and then she becomes too gung-ho about trying to punish him because she's like doesn't want to.
I quite like that. She's
bad.
obviously been having this internal debate, and then just out of nowhere pipes up, just like, we should punish that child. Like,
okay. Like, you get there. Like, you get there.
I've morally worked this out, and yes, we should spank the child. But in any case, he takes off.
And we learn the name of Purple Hair, and her name is Chloe with a K.
Chloe with a K, no H.
Kloe.
And she's hanging out with the cringy named Matron Teresa.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so we get that she's selfless, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, she's very nice, but like, yeah, it's a really on the nose name. And she does make the kid give us our bracer emblem back before he runs away, and then we're like, is it okay that he's running off into the road? And she's like, he'll come back when he's cold.
Yeah.
Do you want to come in for tea and pie? And we do.
Yes, as Estelle says, apple pie heals all wounds.
Yes, she's right.
So we get introduced to the big photorealistic eagle. It's Sieg, the gear falcon.
Yeah, falcon, which is the national bird of Liberl, apparently.
The national bird that Chloe has bird telepathy with, and we just accept that.
Bird, yes. I love that. I love that Estelle just shouts, bird telepathy! Like, in all caps. Like, she's like, no, I don't own him. He's just my friend. We chat.
Yeah, we can, like, communicate vibes and complex thoughts also.
Yes.
Which is fun. Bird telepathy, what a power. But that's about it for the orphanage. We're like, all right, I guess that kid's somewhere, and he'll turn up.
I get the impression that, like, we off-screen, like, played with the kids a bit, because everyone keeps saying, hope you'll come to play with us again sometime. So I guess they must have played with the kids, but we just didn't see it. And then Chloe offers to show us to Ruan, to tag along with us, which is nice. She also, as we're leaving the orphanage, she comments on how it's nice how close you guys are. You're like brother and sister. And Estelle she goes, you act like brother and sister. And Estelle's like, oh, we do? And Joshua goes, only in the sense that we'd look out for each other, which is such a weirdly, like, last chapter, they were saying that you were like, yeah, he's basically my brother. And now someone's like, you guys are like siblings. You're like, Like,
yeah, it's weird. Like, it makes sense for Joshua to be the one saying, oh, I mean, I guess, kind of, technically, because I don't want to reinforce that idea. But Estelle, she's absolutely like, that's my bro, all the time. Yeah. And now suddenly it's like, what do you mean, brother? No,
it's a weird shift.
He has raven hair.
But we carry on.
There's not much to do. I did get an extermination mission on the way to kill some land sharks who were attacking a guy.
I also saved a man named Jimmy.
Yes.
Along the beach. There was a man hidden in like a little cave area being attacked by some monsters. And his name was Jimmy. And I just found him and saved him. So I don't really know what he was there for, at least at this point, but he was like, yeah, I guess I shouldn't come out by myself. Oh, well, whatever, and takes off anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll come up later because we don't get any kind of quest resolution notice or anything, so that wasn't it. Yeah. We just did a nice thing.
We also have a nice touch that Chloe uses healing magic, even though she's like an NPC, like who walks around in the background. On her turns, if someone's been hurt, she'll use healing magic, which is an interesting thing to note. Like, she's not attacking, but she'll heal us, which is cool.
Yeah, she's one of these NPCs who hangs out on the battlefield, but is a lot more useful. She has a wide range of healing magic.
Yeah.
She can really protect you if you need it at this point, which is great going into a new area where the enemies finally start being challenging again after kind of mopping the floor with Bose.
Oh, and the extermination, his name is Jabba. I think we killed Jabba the Hutt.
Ooza baba biba. I don't know how to do Hutt-ese.
Me neither, but I that worked for me. Mm-hmm. So we make it to Ruan, which is a port town.
Mm-hmm. I sort of quickly got lost every time I went to Ruan. Something about the map I just could not wrap my brain around. I was constantly having to perfectly align it to be north-facing so that it would match my mini-map. It
is a confusing town. There's a lot of, like, weird little, like, alley, and there's 2 levels to it as well, which is confusing.
Yeah, I think that's what threw me. It's that there's the north and south map, but you start in the north, and I'm so used to, like, pixel RPGs, you start at the bottom and work your way up. So every time I was like, okay, it's time to go to the bridge, I would just leave town by accident. It happens so many times.
Oh, no.
Once I arrived, saw some people hanging out with a tour guide talking about war stuff next to a lighthouse.
Yeah.
And then quickly ducked across to the guild because that's where we're meant to be going.
Yes, and we meet a beautiful lesbian who is my future wife named Karna. She's got that hot girl ponytail going on. I love her. She's buff. She's badass. We don't get to see much of her, but I love her. So Karna's there.
I just have Karna with a heart written next to it in my notes.
She's so great. And the receptionist, though, is having a meeting upstairs. We don't know with who, so we can't transfer our registration yet. So Karna suggests, because Karna's nice, it's like, why don't you guys go tour the city, go do some sightseeing. They'll have fun. Yeah. And Chloe knows her way around pretty well. We haven't mentioned yet, Chloe's wearing one of those Janus Academy uniforms, and we get confirmed that she does go to that Janus Academy. Unlike Josette, who was a fake private school girl, this is a real private school girl.
And that's got to be a weird conversation for Chloe to encounter, not having the backstory of these two. It's like, oh, what's that uniform? It's the Janus Royal Academy. Do you go there? Yes. Yeah, that's why I have the uniform.
It's not a given.
I don't know. What a weird pair to have show up. They're like, we're not brother and sister, but we are. Are you a school student?
Or are you lying about it?
Yeah. How much are you telling us the truth? Just judging everyone. My first stop was the weapon store because I always like to hit harder. And I ran into another student, another person wearing a Janus Royal Academy uniform who does go to Janus Royal Academy. Nikita, a friend, or at least an acquaintance of Chloe's, who's just casually staring at the gun cabinet in the weapon store. Not at all concerning from a student.
Not at all.
And then, sort of wandered around, headed to the south of town, across the big bridge.
And we even get stopped for a little cutscene, on the bridge.
They talk about how cool it is that it's a drawbridge.
Yeah, it's a drawbridge, an oil-powered one, because they didn't have a bridge. You used to have to take a ferry to get from one end of town to the other, which it's a little weird that you build a town on 2 ends of a river that you couldn't build a bridge over, because apparently they couldn't build a bridge until they had orbital technology, because ships needed to be able to go through the river, so you couldn't have a bridge that would obstruct ships. And that makes sense. But then why would you build the town on both sides? Why wouldn't you just build the town on one side? It doesn't make sense. But now there's a bridge.
Town planning. Now there's a bridge, and it leads us to the southern side of town, which is also half abandoned due to the airships. The ocean-faring trade is not nearly what it was, so there's just a bunch of empty warehouses. It's kind of the dodgy side of town.
Yeah. Weirdly, the mayor's house is also on this side of town, which is... It kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you've ever been to Miami, but there are areas where if you're driving through Miami, like on one side of the street, there are like mansions and the other side is a trailer park. And you're like, this should be like a really overly blatant metaphor. But no, it's just real. That's what I thought of when I was in that part.
It does smack of like gentrifying the Ruan ghetto a little bit.
Yeah. And when you talk to people, there is a lot of comment on how like tourism has now become a big focus of Ruan, and like people are having different feelings about like the I think there's mentions that the mayor, like, is focusing on building up the tourist economy, but there's people who, like, think that the shipping and fishing thing, they should be trying to reinvigorate that. Like, there is some, like, which I find interesting. There's not that much, at least at this point, on that, but it's interesting that you get rumblings, because that feels very realistic as, like, for a town that, as, you know, technology leaves an industry behind, there's tensions about whether you should pursue a different industry or try to revitalize the old industry, and that felt very real and grounded, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely smacks of, you know, mining towns that have been all mined out, stuff like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
In any case, wandering around the south half of town, I ran into a weirdo who was stopping me from going into a warehouse.
Picaro, a nervous punk.
A nervous punk. Kind of leave that as it is. None of the other warehouses are open. I did check everyone.
Yep.
But on leaving the warehouse part of the south side of town, we do get accosted by a couple of his friends who start trying to cause trouble.
Yeah, and they're being gross about women. They're like, not too many women folk come around these parts, and it's like, gee, I wonder why, given how you act. Estelle says, and I love it, she goes, are you seriously trying to pick up girls in an empty old warehouse lot? Which is quite... And they are. They're trying to pick up her and Chloe, and then they try to beat up Joshua for the fact that he gets to walk around with 2 hot girls. Though this is the first time people have, like, called Estelle attractive and not just been like, huh, you're a homely bitch. So, I don't know if it's like, I guess only, you know, these gross weirdos are gonna, like, I don't know what that says. But, he also, one guy says, after Estelle says that, he goes, oh, check you out. I like tough women. I'll take all the abuse you can dish out. My notes just say, can I introduce you to Shara?
Yeah, he missed the mark by 1 bracer. We are quickly saved, though, because Josh's White Knight act isn't really doing the job. But Mayor Dalmore walks up with his quote-unquote private secretary. Gilbert. Steward Gilbert. There's an attractive young man that he keeps around for business.
For business. The mayor is basically like, why would you behave like this, and this isn't reflecting well in the city, and what if we call the bracers on you again? And the punks are like, the bracers, we could still do some damage before the bracers show up. And Estelle's like, you idiots, have you really not noticed our badges yet? We're already here, bitch! Yeah,
you're ogling my body and you don't notice the, like, identification sitting on my homely chest.
Yes, so the bracers get scared and scatter. And not the bracers, sorry, the punks get scared of the bracers and scatter. Though we learn that they're called the Ravens, which is a gang name, I guess.
It's fine. It's a bird. It's the opposite of the good bird that we've met. That's what it is.
Ah, yes. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yes. You're 2 types of people in this world. You've got white photorealistic eagles and generic ravens.
Yes.
One thing I did notice here in the little scene with the mayor and his secretary is that every time they're introducing themselves, Estelle kind of cuts things off so that Joshua has to sound stupid. And I noticed it more and more as this goes on. She'll be like, hi, I'm Estelle Bright, junior bracer in training from Roland. And then every time Joshua has to go, I'm Joshua, me too. Every time.
That, but that's funny. I guess she's had enough of Joshua being the smart one in the dynamic.
Yeah, it happens every time so far this chapter that they introduce themselves to someone. She'll give the full spiel and then he's just got to like, yep, same. I would, if it was me, I would be, hi, I'm Estelle Bright. And he would say, I'm Joshua Bright. We're junior bracers from Roland. You have to let him into the conversation.
We introduce ourselves at the beginning of the show.
They could take
We're setting an example
from us.
for these 2. Yeah, exactly.
I'll loop them into the notes app. But yeah, after we introduce ourselves, it's pretty much time to head back to the guild, I guess.
We do get an interesting note from Chloe. After the mayor and his aide leave, we're like, wow, he's such a refined, like, distinguished guy. And Chloe mentions that he comes from, like, an old aristocratic family that has always been the mayor of this town. And she's like, we don't have nobles anymore in Lebreau, but he's basically as close as you get to noble families. Which is an interesting note, and something we might learn more about later on, but...
This is the second instance then where mayorship was just kind of handed down the family instead of mayoral elections.
But there are elections here.
There are?
Have notes on this later because I did. I found some when we visit the mayor's house later on. I'm gonna have some dialogue. I did that actually pretty soon.
Okay.
So I'll fill you in on what I found out. But yeah, we finally get to go across the bridge and register for our bracership here.
Where we meet our new Bracer secretary, Jean, the glasses-wearing baddie.
Yes, we'd love it.
A book-smart baddie. That's what I wrote.
Yes.
But no timestamp for joining the branch this time. We just sign on the dotted line to move our job to Ruan.
I think we find out it's evening, because when we go outside, the bridge goes up, and Chloe said that happens in the evening. So anyway, bridge go up, by the way. We go outside and bridge go up, which Estelle's excited to get to see. And we get, again, one of those cute animations.
Yes, another cute, custom, like very detailed animation of like a mechanical thing happening. This game loves a complex machine.
I love it too. I love that they give those touches, that they make it feel special, even though it's like really, a fairly simplistic thing happening. It feels really special and exciting.
Yeah, I've absolutely played RPGs in the past where a scene like this would happen and you would talk about this big amazing bridge, but then it would be a static image of the bridge down that would then crossfade into an image of it up without an animation in between.
For sure.
With just, sound effects to make it feel like something had happened. But they've said, no, we are going to figure out the gears, the pulleys, the push and pull, make sure this whole transformer works. Which I appreciate, because we don't see it that often, but it is cool when it happens.
It is fun. But then it's time for Chloe to get back to school. She has to be back by nightfall. And she mentions that she's preparing for the school festival, which may come up again later. We love a school festival.
School festival is maybe one of the most used phrases in the entire Trails series, beyond the phrase, that's our insert name here.
Mm-hmm. But then again, I don't think that's just Trails, because think of like Persona games. Their school festival is always a big deal in Persona games. Like, I think in Japanese high schools, they all do have school festivals, and they are a big deal. So they're not quite as elaborate as some of the ones we see in Trails, but I do think it's like a big thing in general. But I love the school festival stuff. At least I love them.
Yeah, We'll see. We'll see what happens at the school festival.
You think you'll like this one? I think you'll enjoy it.
Does it have a song that's as good as the banger from Persona 4's like Juness Festival? Because that's a hit. But at this point, now that Chloe's heading home, we sort of think to ourselves, oh yeah, we need a home. We need somewhere to sleep.
First off, though, I just want to point out that Estelle says about Chloe as she walks off, if I were a guy, I'd be completely wrapped around her finger. And I'm like, I think both Brights have a little crush on her, which I like.
Oh, yes. I think I screenshotted that one as well. It's like, okay, Estelle, all right.
Yeah.
We see you.
Go get it, girl.
You're like a strong, powerful lady. But then it is time to find somewhere to stay for the night. So we head over to the hotel, where through some piece of kismet, they have a spare room at the inn.
And not just any spare room. It's the penthouse. So it was a cancellation.
They gave these two 16-year-olds the penthouse.
They clearly think these two have are planning. It's like their prom night. Like they and they even say we won't even charge you extra since it was a cancellation. We'll just charge our normal room fee. So we're very excited. We go up. It's super fancy. The balcony is beautiful. But then as we stand out on the balcony, we hear a man's voice from inside of our penthouse. And
walk in to find
a nobleman who has decided that he's going to stay here regardless of the fact that the room's not available.
Yeah, and they highlight the fact that he's just stomped his way into this room unannounced, as though it's a bad thing, which is odd because I just did that to every room in the hotel before walking into the penthouse.
Yeah, but we don't try to stay there then.
I can't really judge Mr. Noble Bowlcut for his actions. He does have some terrible hair.
Oh god, yes. But it's barging in is okay. It's the fact that he then tries to kick us out. And does it successfully.
He does. Like, his butler offers us, Butler Philip offers us a bribe to leave the room.
And then we don't take the bribe. I'm so mad. He's like, oh no, we won't take the money. We'll just like, the way it's phrased is, I think that Estelle and Josh were like, oh, this butler's gonna, like, have it rough from, like, he's gonna get in trouble, or he's gonna get shit on from his boss if the guy doesn't get what he wants. So we'll be nice to the butler. But still, like, I don't think the butler was paying his own money to us, so...
No.
I'm like, as long as it's the nobleman's money, like, take it. It's the least.
I can't believe we gave up the room and the bribe. That's wild.
Right? It's like, come on. Ugh.
You know how expensive it is to buy new weapons every town?
The guy tells us that he's the queen's nephew, and Joshua and Estelle immediately burst out laughing at him for it, but then it turns out to be true.
They're like, a prince can't be old.
I think he's called a duke, but he's next in line to the throne, maybe. But he's a duke. And we're like, well, first it was like, well, I thought Chloe just said there's no more nobles here, but I guess he's royalty, so that doesn't count. But still, immediately we see why nobles are a bad idea. Because they do shit like this.
Duke Doonan, great earrings, terrible personality.
Yeah, so we go down to the main floor, and we're like, well, is there another room? But no, there isn't. We've just gotten nowhere to go when all of a sudden, lo and behold, who walks in? Niall.
Niall, he's back. And he's in town to interview intelligence officer Alan about a big medal that he's getting. He just calls it a big medal. And which makes me think, is it a physically large medal?
Yeah, exactly. It's the size of his head. But he has a few extra beds in his room. No idea why, but he does. So he offers to let us stay there. He's, like, really nice now. Like, he's not being mean. He's still, like, you know, a bit of a dry wit, but he's nothing like the guy we first met in the prologue. He's, like, nice. He's friendly. He's like, yeah, I'll let you kids stay over. I'll even treat you to dinner. You guys did me solid last chapter, so, like, sure, no problem. I'm not going to let two kids have nowhere to sleep. I'm like, Niall, really, was Dorothy just weighing on, because Dorothy's not there, like, was he so stressed that he was just, like, an asshole to everyone because he was trying to keep her from, like, walking off of a bridge while photographing it? Like, is that what was going on all that time? He's a totally different guy. He still gets hammered at dinner, but, like, he's friendly.
I kind of got the feeling that we'd encountered him at the end of a cigarette rather than right before a cigarette, so he's kind of at his calmest.
Yes.
Kind of wild that he goes out to dinner with these two kids and then gets, like, blackout drunk to the point where the dialogue says that they have to carry him back to the room. I think that's probably the only reason he let them stay with him. He's just like, oh, I just need some pallbearers for after dinner.
Exactly. But he's hungover as hell the next day. But we haven't gotten there yet. That's right. Because while we go to bed, we see another place at night. We see the orphanage at night. And Matron Teresa is, I guess, the only one left awake. I think we see shots of the kids sleeping. And
yeah, she's up darning socks or something.
Yeah, she hears something weird and smells something like the beginning of when they said a fire, and all of a sudden, holy shit, the orphanage is on fire.
The stone wall of the orphanage is on fire.
And it's actually, like, it's really a scary scene. The tension is really, like, high. She rushes in to wake up the kids. The kids are, like, obviously they're little kids. Some of them wake up unaware. Some of them are still half asleep. Like, they don't really get it. She's trying to get them out. They're running down the stairs. They're trying to get out. The fires are everywhere. And then, like, a beam falls from the ceiling onto the floor in front of them, blocks their exit. And the matron's, like, prays, like, oh, please, Adios, I can die, but let me at least get the kids to safety. And then the screen just goes red, and you don't find out what happens yet. And it's actually, like, kind of harrowing the way they do it. Like, you're like, oh my god.
I really enjoyed how this was executed, because the piece of the roof you mentioned that falls down, I actually noticed that you see it in shot when you first, when the scene first moves into that room, and then as you click from one text box to another, the beams actually start to shift. They sort of sag down, and then as they go to walk, that's when it drops. I like that there's that little bit of foreshadowing. Again, it's just another piece of custom animation that really sells the fantasy.
Yes.
But it was very funny that we have this very, very dramatic scene, and it's all red screen, and there's fire and danger, and then it cuts to black and just plays the very peaceful In Sleep tune.
Some dissonance there.
Which was a bit of a... I was like, oh god, dee 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 dee. In the morning, we wake up. Niall is hungover as shit because he drank
He's like, why is it so bright? He drank the whole bar. I don't know if that's exaggerating, but I'm choosing to believe it's not. It's just he actually drank the whole bar.
Yeah, I wish when he said, why is it so bright, that one of the two of them said, because there's two of us.
Exactly. So close. Such a missed opportunity.
I'll send an email to Falcom for first chapter to make sure they make that amendment.
Yeah.
But it's off to the guild in the morning. It's time to check in at our new work.
And Jean knows exactly what job he's going to give us until the phone rings and something more important comes up.
Yeah, it's a very aggressive phone ring as well.
Yeah, I wonder if there's an emergency, like, call, like, I don't know, but then Jean doesn't answer as though it's an emergency call. It's not like, you know, the, like, emergency line, like, oh no, it's running, like, what's wrong? Like, he's like, hey, cool, I didn't know you had a phone there.
Oh yeah, he's like, the restaurant managed to contact us on our telephone through essentially their ham radio, which is pretty impressive.
It's impressive. It's really cool. The Manoria village they're pretty cool. They're underestimated. But yeah, the village people, I guess they could see the sky. Later somebody mentions the sky went red over where the orphanage is, so they could see the fire from the town, and they so it's weird that they only call in the morning. Like, I guess that Jean was in bed and there's no one else on the phone, so maybe they're calling again now that he's on duty. But that doesn't seem very efficient as a system. Surely you can have two receptionists so somebody can do the night shift. Like,
you would think, to take a message at the very least. But no, it's time to investigate the fire ASAP. I don't think we get confirmed at this point whether or not everyone's okay, so it is very dramatic.
Don't know yet.
We've got to rush off, but first, all the side quests.
All of them.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
I had to go find a warehouse key that someone had dropped. It's kind of hard to figure out where it is, but eventually you realize it fell into the water, so you get another progressive rod and do some woke fishing and get it.
Yes.
I also noticed while I was running around, Melvin, the guy, remember in chapter 1, we escorted someone to Crone past the checkpoint and then another junior bracer met us? I found him. He was searching for a guy's dentures that had fallen into the water, except for the guy the guy who was telling him where they were because he was missing his dentures. You couldn't understand anything he was saying, and it's actually really funny. God. It was really funny.
That. Oh, that's so cute.
It was so funny. It was so cute.
It would have been funny to like fish up the dentures instead of the key by accident. I would have appreciated that like extra step in the quest. But no, you fish out the woke keys. Their pronouns are unlock, I guess.
Yeah.
And then it's, for me, my next one was Orphanage Highway, the monster extermination.
I did that too, but first I made a stop at the mayor's house because I was like, I should see. This is the fanciest fucking mayor. This place is a whole estate. It like puts the Roland mayor's place to shame. It's super fancy. There's like an antique ornament chandelier in the lobby. So I went around and talked to all the staff, and most of them say fairly normal things, except this one maid, I think her name was Dominique. She says like some shady stuff about him. She's like, this guy, she's like, he's really, everyone says he's only mayor, he's mayor because of his family line, and they're all mayors, and it's true, but it's still the people of this town who elected him. They're all responsible for what he's doing.
What he's doing.
And I'm like, whoa, or what he does, or something like that, and I'm like, what? Like, there hasn't been, like, there's been hints that not everyone agrees with, like, decisions, but no one, and I tend to, like, when, a service worker says something shitty about their boss, I tend to side with them, especially in a JRPG where you have, like, the most loyal butlers and maids in the world, usually. Like, if one of them breaks from that, I'm like, clearly that's not just, like, some, like, jaded worker. Like, no, so... But she doesn't say more than that, but she does say that he's elected, so it seems like it could be that people really believe that, like, oh, the person from this family should be the leader. It could be that because everyone assumes that the person from that family will always win, people don't bother to go out to vote, and so it's harder to change, like that kind of thing. I don't know why, but we confirmed that at least this town has elections for mayor.
Yeah, although the palatial estate in the South Ruan ghetto really screams of embezzling funds. So I can understand why Dominique might be a little concerned.
For sure. But then I went off onto the Manoria Byroad, or whatever it was called.
Orphanage Highway, I think?
Highway, right.
One note I will make about the journey to Orphanage Highway, I met the best enemy design in the entire Trails franchise. Hands down, it's the GOURD boar.
We love the GOURD boar. And the baby GOURD boars.
And the baby GOURD boars. So GOURD boars is just like a little pig like you'd see in any anime. It's like a little fairy, it's got stripes. And its sprite is just running in circles on the spot on the tile that they're occupying, which is cute. But then the baby GOURD boars, there's 3 of them, and they're just spinning in a circle. Like when you see those TikToks of like 2 cats in a cage sort of jumping over each other over and over again.
So good.
It was so delightful. I took a video to send you because I was so excited.
Yes, it was the best.
Fully tickled myself while taking that video because I had the thought, oh, I should press turbo. And then they just go...
Yes, you did. It's even better in turbo. They're so great.
Yeah, just a full, like, gut laugh. Anyway, off to Sapphirl Tower on Orphanage Highway.
Yeah. So the monster's right in front of it. Mm-hmm. And also, there had been one quest that, like, somebody had lost an orbital gun model. And I talked to this guy, and he was like, I lost it when I was on that road. So after we killed this monster, they dropped this experimental gun model. So that was convenient.
Very convenient. Also a very hard fight, I found. The helmet crabs that you're fighting, they knock back any physical damage, including your S-craft, so it's reflected back at you. You have to use magic, but...
Oh, I used Joshua's flicker attack, because it was the line attack, so I hit 3 of them, and 3 of them reflected back and immediately killed Joshua.
Yeah, that happened to me as well. I was so excited to finally have multiple enemies lined up to use that attack. Because it's so hard to organically have happen. It's baiting you into it. But they also summon little poms who cast Diamond Dust, which is a very powerful ice spell. I had to do that fight 3 times. The first time... I had to do it
twice, but it was bad.
Josh got wrecked from the reflect and it ended very badly very quickly. Second time, I planned ahead better. I didn't use physical attacks, and I took everyone out except for one pom who cast Diamond Dust and killed both of my party members at once.
Diamond Dust is like a top tier test. Like it's, I don't know if it's top tier, but it's one of the high tiers. Like it's way more difficult than anything else. Like I got Diamond Dust on Estelle at one point in this chapter, and it's 4 times as much EP as everything else.
Wild that these poms can cast it. Oh, also speaking of poms, one of the things back when Chloe invited us to the festival, Estelle goes, "Oh, I hope they've got chocolate-covered poms." And I saw that and I was like, man, I hope that's like a colloquial name. Like there's a cake. I don't know if you guys have it. Frog in a hole. It's a little cake with a frog shape sticking out of it.
No, we have Toad in a hole, but that's not a cake. That's like a toast with an egg in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
We do have, like, chocolate bunnies at Easter, like, which aren't actual bunnies, so I'm assuming it's something like that.
You have to hope so, because if it's an actual living pom... Like, can you imagine eating chocolate-covered chicken nuggets? That would be disgusting.
No, I don't want that. No, thank you.
It's a chocolate-covered pom. It's not chocolate-covered pom breast or fillet or whatever. It's just a pom, so it's eating it whole.
It must be...
Like that bird you're meant to eat with a napkin over your head.
Oh my god, that one's for... You eat with a napkin over your head because the way it's made is such severe animal cruelty that you have to hide from the shame of God. That's actually historically the reason why. Yeah, I don't think it's a real pom. I think it is something pom-shaped. I choose to believe that.
I hope so. Although the image of everyone attending a school festival and sitting in lines with napkins over their head to eat this confection is pretty funny.
That is funny.
I guess we'll find out when we go to the school festival.
We'll find out.
Oh, but yeah, while we're at Sapphirl Tower, I figured I would hike up to the top just to see if I could find Professor Alba again.
And he wasn't there.
He's not there. There's no one there. What is there is a fucking labyrinth. That tower is a nightmare to navigate because above the second floor, all the way up to the 5th or 6th, there's 6 up-down stairs on every floor. And there's no map unless you go to the very helpful website that we keep referring to. But even with those maps, I was having trouble kind of...
It's confusing. If you have to go up 2 to go down 1, like next to it, like it's something weird like that. It's very much, you have to go up 2 to the side and down 1.
And the whole thing is split into 2 entirely separate paths at the start.
Yeah, it's very strange.
I took the complicated one first, just randomly, and I got completely lost, and then the other side is just a straight line, which is kind of maddening. But nothing really happening in the tower, except for a bunch of chests, monster-protected chests with some upgrade gear, which I was very happy to see.
Some nice quartz, too.
Some nice quartz, but nothing at the top, except for quite a nice view. I did take a screenshot or 2 of the view from the top of the tower.
To be clear, when we say nothing at the top, there is one of those weird devices. It's just you can't interact with it, no one comments on it. So it's there, it's just there's nothing about it.
Yeah, but I did enjoy the view because you can see like the lighthouse off in the distance across the big open water. It's very cute. But yeah, no event, nothing to do there, so I just hiked on.
I did find one chest message that said, "You have found disappointment," which was
I
cute.
Screenshotted that one as well. I had a couple in this area. There was one where you open it and it says, "The clowns told me you'd be back."
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And one said, "The voices in my lid told me you'd be back."
Yeah, I like that one. Or one that just says "Insert treasure here," which is a cute little sort of referential one. But yeah, for me, I was still exploring at this point, so I hiked over to Airleton Checkpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's very nice.
There was one of the guards out the front mentioned that they'd received a messenger from Leighton Fortress. There was some sort of messenger came through about the fortress, which is where the Sky Bandits were sent.
Yes.
So I was like, "Ooh, are they going to break out and come back? Who knows?" But the Airleton checkpoint is also the waterfall I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
They mentioned that it's ruins that became a waterfall. So it seems like there's some sort of structure up there, and the water's just passing through it, and that's what's created this waterfall.
Yeah.
But it's lovely. Like when you're in the checkpoint building, there's open sides so you can see the waterfall outside, or you can go up top and have a look at it.
Unlike the other checkpoints we've seen so far, this one is a tourist destination. Clearly, people come to see these waterfalls.
Yeah, because there's an NPC standing in front of the waterfall who mentions that it's one of the 16 wonders of Liberl.
Liberl's not a big country. That's impressive.
So many wonders. And we've been through like half the country so far, and this is our first wonder, so...
Yeah.
Zeiss and Grancel must be heavily loaded with wonders.
Or maybe it's just some really false advertising, and like, there's only 1 or 2 that really deserve the title, and other things get like bumped up in their like tourist marketing materials.
It's like saying that there's 4 divine blades and then just filling in the list later.
Yeah, pretty much.
But after that, I headed back to Ruan because there was nothing to do. Couldn't go through the gate, obviously, because it's a checkpoint and we're not ready to head on to a new place yet.
Yep.
I gave Carl back his prototype gun in the weapons store.
Yes, he was very happy.
I also stopped in the casino briefly because I hadn't been in there yet. And the guy behind the counter, Primo, mentions that he's the older brother of one of the punks from the Ravens.
Yes.
So he says his brother's always causing shit and he's a bit embarrassing. Yeah, just nice to see that there's some familial links there.
Yeah.
At that point, I think I'd done all of the side quests that were available at this stage.
Yeah, at this point. Off to the orphanage.
Let's do this thing!
All this time, it didn't matter whether or not they'd all died or not. We still had other shit to do before checking on them. So
yeah, I did try to stop at the academy on the way through just to see if I could say hi to Chloe, but it's all locked up. It's the middle of the school day. So I headed on to the orphanage, which is wrecked.
Oh god, yeah. And there's really sad music playing.
It is. It's very ominous, as though you're about to find some kid corpse sprites or something.
Yeah.
Luckily, the only one who died in the fire was the building. So everyone else is fine and at the inn over in Manoria Village.
And Estelle wants to go over and see them, and Josh was like, I understand, but we have a job. We have to investigate. We can't go and, see for ourselves that they're okay. We have to investigate, because the scene of the crime, we have to see it as so close to the crime as possible. So you walk around, and there's all this stuff is knocked over. The gardens have been messed up, the crop patches or whatever, all the barrels outside. Not just, even where the fire doesn't seem to have traveled, everything is messed up. And you find a few spots that are, there's a weird smell in the corner of the building where the fire seems to have started. There's something else around the front of the building that you notice too.
They mentioned that the hinge on the door looks like it's been tampered with.
Yeah, it was broken before the fire. Yeah.
But yeah, and everything's been wrecked in a way that's not just fire damage. It's clear that someone purposely wrecked everything. One of the little interaction items I found was that a big thing of milk had been damaged so that all the milk leaked out of it. So they're not just setting a fire. It's not just a fire. Someone's clearly tampered with the place.
Yeah, and it's very weird. And it's not clear whether they did all the tampering to, make it look like an accident somehow, or make it look like someone else responsible, or if it was just to be an asshole. It's just not clear. But Joshua and Estelle chat, and they say it's clearly foul play. And Chloe overhears, and she's really upset. I mean, clearly the orphanage means a lot to her. She tells us that she never lived there, but she has known them since she was a kid, and they felt like her family. The matron and her deceased husband were like her family, but she wasn't an orphan living at the orphanage. And she's just how could anyone be so cruel? Because it sounds like they did it for vindictive reasons. And you got a really sweet bit where Estelle comes and holds both of Chloe's hands and is... I like these two. I've got, I'm feeling some shippy feelings for these two right now. It's very cute. She holds both of her hands and she's like, I'm finding this crazy upsetting and I don't even have this personal connection. I can't imagine how you feel, but they're safe. The matron and the kids are safe. They're at the hotel in Manoria, and at least the memories and the people are still around, even if the place is gone. And it does make Chloe feel better. It's a really sweet little scene.
Yeah, it's very reassuring and nice to see from Estelle, who, by all accounts, does not have a lot of female friends. She mostly hangs out with her unbrother and children that she wants to fight. Yeah. The only women we've seen her interact with is Gisette, who she hated, and that's about
Shara.
it. And Shara, who's older, and she's
Shara's
like a
older,
big sister kind of
For
situation. Sure. But yeah, to see the emotional well-being check-in, just the important things are safe. The damage that is done isn't consequential in the long run. Everything's fine. We can keep going from here. And Joshua's just sort of off to the side, going same.
Yeah,
as he is wont to do.
So we ask Chloe if she wants to come with us to go see the matron and the kids, and she says yes, so we go off to Manoria, and we go to the hotel, and they've been put up, and we do know it looks like they're not being charged to stay, which is nice, and we go say hi, and Chloe basically takes the kids out to play so that we can talk to the matron about what happened without the kids having to hear everything, and
not before the kids demand to know if we've already solved the case.
Yeah, they have high expectations.
Estelle and Joshua kind of embarrassingly say, it was like, well, actually, it's like, guys, you got the job 5 minutes ago. It's okay that you haven't solved it yet. This child's expectations are unrealistic. Once the kids are shipped out, Matron Teresa, eye roll, says that he showed up to help.
Silver-haired man.
I immediately thought agate when she said he. It's like, who's a big, strong person who could knock a door off its hinges, stuff like that. No, but it's a silver-haired young man. I could not draw a connection to who that was yet, so I'm excited to be told.
You're not supposed to know yet. You're not supposed to know yet. She says that when we're asking if anyone unusual was around, but Joshua kind of has a weird reaction at first. Like, he recognizes the description, and then he's like, no, I don't. He's like, no, never mind. It's nothing. And they determine that he's probably not a suspect since he saved everyone. Although, like, it is really funny because I was talking to my sister who's watching Criminal Minds, and she was talking about, hero killers is the term for people who like set fires so that they can then come into the rescue. So, It's really fun. That was today that I was talking to my sister about that. So it is really funny that after I played this scene, I talked about that. I'm like, well, it could be that, but no, they determined that this mysterious guy is probably not a suspect. And then the mayor shows up
with his boy toy aide.
Yeah, his sexy Terry.
His secretary. I love that. But yes, the boy toy aide immediately says that the gang from Ruan might have done it, which I was like, that's a stretch. And then immediately Joshua says, why? Why do you think that? Just because they are a gang doesn't mean they would have done it.
Yeah, it's a pretty extreme thing to do. And the mayor is also like, we can't jump to assumptions. And, like, we can't, jump to assumptions. And we should be trying to, like, influence the investigation. So, bad Gilbert, bad Sexy Terry. And that's all good. The mayor offers his villa, or his family villa in Grand Cell of the capital for the orphans and the matron to live at until they figure out. Because the matron's like, I don't even know what I'm going to do next about rebuilding or anything. I'm just, like, understandably, she hasn't thought about what next steps yet. She's still in shock. So he offers that.
I did laugh. My brain just spun off in this moment because they say they can't afford to rebuild, but the mayor has a proposal, and my brain jumped immediately like, oh, he's going to fund the rebuilding of the orphanage with pop-up ads.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense, but I was just like, oh yeah, what if we had like billboards on every wall of the inside of the orphanage just advertising, I don't know, orbments.
To the 5-year-old children there who are orphans with no money.
But yeah, they've been offered a palatial estate in the royal capital to stay in, and the matron's still like, oh, I don't know.
Well, she's like, I need to think about it, and the mayor leaves, and then she and Chloe are like, really, Chloe's like, it's the smart thing to do, but I feel like if you go to Grand Cell, you're never going to come back. It's never going to get rebuilt. And the matron's like, I don't want to just give up on it. Like, this is where, everything I have left when my husband was there. So, like, I get the emotional reason, but there's also a part of me that's like, man, a fancy villa in the capital.
Don't knock it. Oh no, we moved there and we were stuck there forever in like a huge space where I can care for more children.
But given how hard it is to get from one region to another, to moving 2 regions over is probably like abandoning your home and never speaking to anyone you know again. So could be a bit of that.
That's hard for people who are good at planning and keeping together, which is not the case here, because one of the kids busts in to tell us that fucking Clem, little cat kid, has once again run off to do something. Jesus, Clem, like, calm down.
Yeah. It seems like he overheard the mayor's aide, or the Sexy Terry Gilbert, saying that it was the gang and that he's going off for revenge. We need to run after him to try and stop him from getting revenge on a grown-up gang.
To solve yet another child-based problem in LaBelle.
So many child-based problems in LaBelle. At one point in this chapter, Estelle even says, he reminds me of Luke, the asshole sexist kid from Roland. Like, yeah. She's like, I remember beefing with another child just like this.
Yeah, he reminds me of Luke, brackets derogatory.
Yeah. So we rush back to Ruan, running after him, and when we get there, he's running across the bridge, and we get to the bridge, and right as he gets to the other end of the bridge goes up for the ships, and we're like, shit, now he's over with the gangs, we have to get it back. We ask around, and it turns out that there's a boat, because they used to take a boat before they had a bridge to get across. And there's still a boat behind the hotel that the hotel rents out. So we take the boat, even though it was reserved by the Duke, we snatch it from him. And Joshua apparently knows how to drive a boat, which is cool, but I don't know where he has that skill from. So we get across.
Yeah, he's great at boats.
He's great at boat. We make it to the warehouses. Clem's already gone in and started yelling at them. And he's like, as annoying as this kid's been, you do kind of feel for him as he starts breaking down crying about how he's lost his home and everyone almost, like, he's clearly traumatized, as anyone would be. And the gang has no idea what he's talking about. But then he starts hitting the gang and crying, and then this is the point where any normal adult would be, not pleased about the fact that the little kid was crying and hitting them, but also would be like, clearly something's going on with this kid. I should pick him up by his throat, strangle him, and threaten to teach him a lesson.
Or tell him to go back to sucking on his mama's tit.
Yeah, and that's what really pisses him off. He's like, you can't make fun of the matron. She's the only mom I have. And I'm like, I don't even think it was you're the one being made fun of. But also, what a weird fucking sentence. Like, he won't know the word tit. He's 3.
I can't suck on her tit. She's not my real mum. So there. So the gangsters also threatened to spank him, which is why I took such notice of it.
Weird.
Good or bad, everyone just wants to spank children they don't know, which is weird.
Really
but
weird.
We make our way into the warehouse. Chloe announces that she's going to join the fight, which is very exciting.
And Joshua goes, a self-defense rapier. And I'm like, a self-defense rapier is like the funniest sentence. I don't know why, but a self-defense rapier.
You know, as weapons of choice in Zemuria go, it's not even the weirdest choice. There are far weirder options out there. I would love to know where she was hiding this the entire time as well, because they're very surprised to see the sword for the first time.
Yes.
I would love it if it's like an extendable baton rapier. That would be pretty cool.
I love that. Like a pin like a brooch that she wears. But she says something like, I was taught self-defense and I don't like to fight, but for defense of another person I will. Like, it's a very noble little speech she gives before entering the fight. And she is a great magic user. So that's pretty fun.
Amazing. Like, this was where you realize just how many sort of blue healing type spells she has. It's like a list of 12. Ridiculous.
Yeah, she's fucking loaded. And this is before you even get to, like, edit her ornament. This is just, like, what she comes out of the can with.
Exactly. I had gotten to the point around now where I think all of my slots on Estelle and Joshua were open. So luckily I had just gone in and tried to I haven't looked up proper builds or anything. I've just been swapping stuff in and out to see what happens. I love that when you're sort of changing the quartz in a slot, it'll show you what the new moves that will be added are. Yeah, so you can just sort of skim down the list. I'd managed to expand both Joshua and Estelle's spells. So I had a bunch of like line attacks and area attacks. Where
it's awesome.
The kind of higgledy-piggledy setup I had before that was only single spells. I think Joshua had one multi-hit earth spell, which was the only way I made it through that helmet crab fight.
Right.
But also, Chloe's moves all have sort of Germanic names, which I made a note of. She's using a sword. At this point, one of the treasures I'd found in the tower was a flamberge. So I had a new sword for her that I couldn't put on her yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, her moves are Germanic, and Erebonia is the country that has sort of the Germanic names for places. So she mentions that she was taught swordscraft by someone, which tells me maybe it's an Erebonian she learnt from.
Maybe. But it's great having her on the team. We do have to fight like a bunch of people, and it's like 3 leaders, like named characters, and then a bunch of grunts, but the leader characters can yell at the grunts to come back to life after you've beat them up, which is really funny. It's like, that happened to me once. Like, I was okay, but it's like, you know how Estelle can yell at her brother to make him stronger? It's like the bosses can yell at their guys to come back to life, to stop being so beat up. So that happened at one point. At least one of them can do it. I guess I don't know if they all did.
Estelle can yell at her friends, be better, but these gangsters can yell at their grunts and be aliver.
Yes. I don't know if it was all of the bosses or just one, because there was another one who had a shout that he would shout at my guys and their defense would go down. Like, I guess he's just nagging them. Like, I don't know, he's calling Estelle homely or something.
I think the third one then must be the one that boosts their attack, because the only shout that they managed to get off was like an attack boost. Through the rearranging of my orbits and the fact that I made sure to put like cast speed stuff on, I was able to knock all but one grunt out in the first round of combat before they could really get off a move, which made me feel very powerful and super smart for, randomly swapping my quartzes. I honestly, it feels like
you did good magic rock.
I did good magic rocks. I feel like I'm taking the Estelle approach, where I assume she just opens the pocket watch with all the slots open, throws a bunch of quartz up in the air, and sees what she can catch.
Exactly.
But it worked out
where
this time.
They land in it. She just like holds out her pocket watch to try and catch it with the pocket watch, see what slots they end up in.
More likely, she slides it all across the table at Joshua and is like, "Josh, do it for me."
Yeah, that's probably what happens.
In any case, we beat up all these thugs, and that's when Agate decides to show up, not to help.
Well, first, not even then, they take the kid hostage. They're like, we're not giving him back, even though you beat us up. And then Agate shows up, and he clearly knows these guys. And we say that we beat them up, but he really just starts punching them all across the room.
Holy shit, he punches one guy so hard that he flies the equivalent of what would be like 3 meters up into the air and smashes into a wall.
Yeah, he's not.
And that wasn't even
around.
using his heavy blade, that was using his heavy fist.
Yeah, just his heavy fist. And then the guy who has Clem lets him go, and Clem runs to Chloe crying, and he's really upset. and he and Chloe talk, and it's a sweet scene, even though Clem's been a brat, and he's crying, and Chloe's teary, and Stell's cheering up, and then Agate goes, "Women and kids are always the same," and I was like, oh my god, Agate, can you chill can you just chill, please?
Such an edgelord, this Agate.
Yeah, I'm like, this kid's home just burned down. Can you maybe not be like an asshole about crying kids? Like, of all the things he's done, this is the most justified thing he's done all chapters, cry after his home got burned down.
Yeah, it's the only relatable thing he's done at all. Also, the matron shows up at the gang hideout, and I was just like, lady, what are you doing here?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what
Did you leave all these kids alone in another town? Is that what's happened?
I guess she must have. I guess maybe she knows the Manoria villagers well enough to entrust the kids. I hope so. I hope that they're not just, like, relative strangers to her. I hope she, like, knows them well enough to entrust some kids for a bit there.
You gotta hope.
But as we head out of the warehouses and out of Ruan, Josh gives Clem a pep talk, being like, I know it's admirable that you want to protect the people you care about, but you have to let us fight the bad guys. Your job is to stay there and support your friends and the matron and whatever. And Clem's like, yeah. And Josh was like, only you can do it. And Clem's like, yeah, only I can do it. And it's, Clem leaves, and there's this little weird bit where you kind of almost get the impression that Joshua relates to Clem in the weird way. That's the vibe I got. Whether it's about the, like, protecting the person you care about, or whether Joshua has been, like, a child who felt helpless before or something. Like, he seems to have some angst here, about, like, the things he said to Clem clearly came from, like, somewhere deep inside him.
A level of emotional intelligence, yeah. I found this conversation a little funny because it opens up Estelle and Chloe are just talking to Clem and the matron by themselves. Then Joshua wanders up, having returned the boat, and they make a huge deal about the fact that he returned the boat. They're like, oh my god, thank you so much, Joshua. You did such a good job. And I was just sitting to say, don't reward a man for completing basic tasks. No.
It's like, dude.
But then he reasonably said, oh, it's not that big a deal. Then he gives this emotional speech to this child to convince him to do the right thing. And they say, good job. And he also says, it's no big deal. So I guess everything's no big deal to Joshua.
Everything's no big deal. The strong stoic type. But then we go to the guild, and Agate kicks us off of this investigation, which he's not nice about it. He says, I'm taking over, and you're off.
He announces that the gangsters couldn't have done it because they were drunk, which is not... He's like, they were drunk last night, so they couldn't have done it.
I'm like, alcohol's flammable, bitch.
Yeah, being drunk and out of control seems like a pretty good way to have accidentally started a fire.
I guess maybe it's that they wouldn't have made it over there without, like, tripping and dying, because it's like a hike, but no, it's like, that's not... You know these guys. I would probably believe you if you said I really question them and I really don't think they did it, more than they were too drunk to do it.
So he just takes our case, which is rude. But also reasonable, because the rules say that a senior bracer can take a case from a junior bracer because they get first dibs. And
he says we're too emotionally attached to it. We're too close.
And we let a civilian get involved because Chloe fought in the battle against the gangsters, and that's a big no-no. Although civilians can be brought in on jobs where reasonable, apparently he decided this was not reasonable.
I guess because she's a teenager. I guess Olivier was an adult, so it was okay, but Chloe's a minor or something. Or he's just mad. Yeah. Even though we're minors too, but whatever.
But we step outside, and Chloe's trying to console us. She says, I'm sorry that I joined the fight. I shouldn't have done that. Then you wouldn't be in trouble. And they say, nah, it's fine. And then she offers an alternative, which is, hey, I'm sorry you lost your arson case. Do you want to be in a school play?
And the receptionist is like, that's a legitimate guild job. You're able to, like, civilians can totally hire the guild for this kind of thing. And it's like, is that real, or are you just trying to give a pep talk to these depressed kids? And they're like, yeah, we haven't cast the two main characters, so do you want to do it? And I'm like, imagine being a kid at this school who auditioned for a role, and then two randos who aren't even in school just show up one day, have never even been to camps before, and get starring roles, and you're like, I practiced for this audition for 6 months, I waited years for my turn to be the lead in the school play, and what?
The justification they give is that Estelle has combat experience, and the role that she'd be playing does stage combat, so she would know how to do it, and that's enough.
Yeah.
I don't forecast Estelle being a particularly talented actress. I don't think she has the nuance or personal filter for it, but we will see.
Well, we do see in a side quest shortly, she shows a bit of some acting skill, so we'll get there soon.
But yeah, so we're told it's time to head off to the academy for the next beat of the story, which means I did everything else.
Yeah, they even say, like, well, we should probably figure out anything that we need to do here before we go off. And Chloe's like, yeah, that's fair. Well, here's how you get there. But then she stays with the party. And I'm like, why did we need Chloe to specify where you take a turn off of the road to get there if she's not, like, it sounds like she's giving us directions because she's going ahead. But she doesn't. Okay, anyway, before we go to the school play, we got to do some things. And so the first thing I did was the mayor had a task, or the mayor's secretary had a task for us. Mm-hmm. Where their candelabrum, sapphire, whatever it's called, some special historical ornament thing that they had on display in the mansion has been stolen.
Yes, the sapphire glim, it's called.
Yes, there we go. And Gilbert tells us about it, and there's a note with a clue as to where it is. And the note is by Phantom Thief B. The first Phantom Thief B case.
The well-known Phantom Thief B that everyone knows about at this stage in the story. No, they don't. Basically, they just get a rambling puzzle note, which I screen capped because I think it's great.
Oh, yes. It's good. I'm glad you screen capped it.
So the note that you find on the stand for the Sapphire Glim reads, and here's my best Phantom Thief B voice. That which nests here is a beast more dire than any other. Continue to give praise to the spirit whose blue light was lost in the darkness. Free the spark it left behind, and I will be free. Ah, Seeker, those eyes of Adios see only the truth and pass it on to you. Look to the three-eyed giant which towers over this settlement. Do so, and the blue light will be revealed. XOXO Phantom Thief B.
You know you love me. XOXO Phantom Thief B.
XOXO Gossip Thief. I read this and they sort of ruminate on it for a while and decide that the three-eyed giant which towers over the settlement might be a lighthouse.
Yep.
And so I went, absolutely, got it. And I left town and I ran all the way to Varennes Lighthouse.
Oh
no! So I went to see Vogt. And I was like, hey, I heard there was a mystery. And I searched up and down that goddamn lighthouse.
Oh, no.
And then I was really stumped, and I looked at the note again, and it's like, oh, on the side of town. So yeah. I dejectedly walked all the way back to Ruan, and went just around the corner from where I was originally and said, oh, look, it's a lighthouse with a note on it. Great.
I think they even say it's probably still in Ruan.
I probably could have guessed that, but I missed it.
But no. It's fair, though. There is one thing before you go anywhere. Gil, before we leave, Estelle and Joshua are like, well, maybe we should take a look around the room that it was in first for any clues. And Gilbert's like, no, absolutely not. And then he's like, well, we've already looked. We just don't want to waste your time. And I'm like, that is really weird how you immediately were like, no, you can't look around the premises.
No, you can't check for evidence. Crazy.
I figured out which light that it was in Ruan, and I had seen that lighthouse before, so I went over there, and stuck to the back of it is a note. Did you screenshot this one by any chance?
I got every single one. Let's see if my voice stays the same from note to note. Ah, Seeker, the eyes of Adios see only the truth and pass it on to you. Look to the endless waltz which unfolds between the red and black. Do so, and the blue light will be revealed. Lots of love, millions of kisses. Phantom Thief B.
You think this is like Father Divine with all the Adios references?
It's very goddess heavy, it's true. Loves some color references.
This one I figured out right away.
Yeah, this one was pretty obvious, considering I'd just shortly before that been back to see Primo at the casino.
Yeah.
So you head into the casino, it's the roulette wheel upstairs in the casino. Yep. You kind of have to bump a dude out of the way. It's like, hey, sorry, I know you're doing your job of renovating the casino, but move.
He is so perplexed by this entire experience.
Yeah, they don't announce themselves or explain themselves in any capacity. They're just like, hey, sorry.
We'll just be a
fiddle,
second.
Fiddle. Got it, bye. So we find yet another note from Phantom Thief B. There's not a candelabrum stuck to the underside of the roulette wheel.
Alas.
Ah, Seeker, the eyes of Adios see only the truth and pass it on to you. Rest at the land harbor and look to the one-eyed lion. Do so and the blue light will be revealed. Sincerely yours, Phantom Thief B.
So my first thought with lion, I was like, Erebonia, because that's their sigil. And then it had nothing to do with Erebonia, but I was really thinking that. But I did figure out that the land harbor was the landing port. So I went over to the landing port and just kind of ran around until I found something with an exclamation point, because there was no airborne or anything. It was the, like, motorbike thing we saw someone transporting cargo with. It does look like it has wheels. I don't think it hovers.
Yeah, it's some sort of, it's like not a pitchfork. What's the thing?
I know what you mean. I just can't remember what it's called. Yeah, a forklift or something.
Yes.
Or not a forklift.
It looks like
it's
a
thing.
forklift.
Yeah.
I did not immediately go to the airport. When it said land harbor, I assumed near the warehouses. Like,
yeah. That was my other thought.
The harbor that's on the land. But yes, eventually I made my way over to the sky harbor that's on land.
Yes. I figured landing port, is that why? Because it's landing, even though it's also landing, like, ships also land. I don't know why, but I was just like, landing. It was on the same side of the map, and I didn't want to go cross the bridge until I had checked the one that was close first.
True. But we get our next note. We're still going. Ah, Seeker, the eyes of Adios see only the truth and pass it on to you. Beyond the drawbridge, look to the barrels near the steel crane. Do so and the blue light will be revealed. I'm running out of, like, ways to end letters. What's another, Sealed with a kiss, Phantom Thief B. Every single one of these says the blue light will be revealed, and it never is, which is a letdown.
It never is.
It also feels like he's losing steam on his
they're getting shorter and more obvious.
Yeah, it's like, it's the steel crane. Like, what else could it be, really?
So we go to the steel crane, but there's no barrel.
There's no barrel. There's a steel crane, there's no barrel. I checked the crane itself, and they remembered that they helped a warehouse man find a warehouse key.
So we go ask him if he knows about the barrels, and he's like, yeah, the barrel's in the warehouse now. He's like, I can't let you in to look at it, but I can go in and get the barrel out, because there was only the one, and bring it out to you, and you can look at it. And he's like, I love loopholes. So we go to the warehouse, and his boss is coming out of the warehouse at the same time, and he tells his boss what he's doing. His boss is like, yeah, that's fine. So we go in and get the barrel, and he's like, here it is, and there's a note on it. And what does the note say?
Why, the note says, I must apologize most profoundly, for the barrel to have been moved was an error most inopportune, but the warehouse key was recovered, and you have made it here. I will reveal the truth unto you. Your reward will be what you have sought. Look within the barrel. The candelabrum you find will, no doubt, be returned to its rightful owner. Ah, time grows short, we will meet again. Phantom Thief B.
It's also, we're like, wait, he's been watching us? And it's like, that's why his notes are getting less good. Because the first one, he clearly had ages to think up what his first note would say. But now if he's making the notes as we're doing it, he's like scribbling off a note super fast and leaving it there.
Yeah, he's sprinting from building to building with a legal pad, just like riding as fast as he can.
Exactly. But then the boss walks up and he's like, the fuck's going on? And we're like, you just stole us, this is fine. And he's like, no, I didn't. What are you talking about? And Joshua goes, we've been had. Because it turns out the boss we talked to before was the thief in disguise.
It wasn't B for boss, it was B for Phantom Thief.
Mm-hmm. And so it looks like our warehouse guy is getting yelled at by his boss while we check the barrel. And what do we find? Do we find a candelabrum?
We found a candelabrum.
Yay! We run off to... Estelle runs off to try and catch him. And Achilles like, should we go and help her? And Josh was like, no, it's not going to work. He's gone now. We can just let her run around and like try. We can let her have fun. But no point.
Mm-mm.
And then we take it over to the mayor's house, and we're like, sorry, we couldn't catch a thief. And the mayor and the steward are like really chill. We're like, no, that wasn't part of the job. Catching the thief wasn't at all an expedition. We just wanted the thing back. They're very chill about it. It's weird, but convenient for us.
Yeah, also it's a very ugly candelabrum, I thought.
It really is.
It was very nice looking. In any case, on to the next job. The next one I did was make him leave.
Yeah, me too. So to be fair, when I first saw the note, and even though I've played this game before, like I forget a lot of the side quests, when I first saw that there was a tourist who was annoying the hell out of everyone and needed to be dealt with, I was like, is Olivier there? And I was like, no, I don't think Olivier's there. But that was my first thought. I'm like, please help us get rid of this tourist. It has to be Olivier. But no, we go to Air Letton, where there's a tourist causing problems. And it turns out it's fucking Duke Doonan again.
Fucking Duke Doonan at it again. He's trying to rent every room in the building at once because he's decided that he's going to stay here at this checkpoint.
Because he likes the waterfall, I guess. But, like, he's renting out every room in the inn area and the restaurant and all of it, and nobody wants to let him, but he just is, like, obtuse and doesn't understand. And the soldiers there are like, well, could you, if you can't talk him out of it, geez, you're sick. Or one of them is like, just give him a push into the waterfall. Like, they are really, like, murderous against this guy. die.
Yeah, there are no royalists at this checkpoint, clearly.
None. So as we go into the room that he's in, a bunch of the guests who are really mad about what's going on ambush Joshua for some reason, I guess because they notice him as a bracer. And so Joshua doesn't get to come in and help us deal with him. So it's all Estelle and her silver tongue. And what happens, it's like a multiple choice of like, how are we going to like, like schmooze him into leaving? And it's actually really funny thinking of Estelle saying all these things where she's like, excuse me, Lord, but I've come to fetch you. And, the mayor, you can say either the mayor sent me or the hotel sent me. And then you basically convince him that there's cockroaches and that this place is junky, and you send him away screaming, which is great. Yeah,
you sort of query him and he's like, you want to stay here? And he's like, I'm going to stay here. And your options are, I can't remember what the other one was, but I said, oh, you want to stay in this shithole?
And he's like, well, it's true that it's not good enough for me, but...
The poor proprietor is kind of sitting off to the side of this conversation with just like angry emotes going over his head. But she's like, yeah, this place sucks and it's below you. And oh, look out next to your foot. It's a cockroach.
And he just runs away screaming.
Just sprints.
And everyone's very grateful that we got away, even though the cook or the proprietor is not thrilled about how we did it. I was like, it's just a white lie for the greater good. I talked to some soldiers, and one of the soldiers goes, couldn't the next king find a better hairdresser? Which is so true and amazing.
That hair is ugly as sin.
It's so bad.
It's nice that Estelle apologizes for solving the problem by leaving a bad Yelp review. But we got the job done. Duke Dunan's out. Thank God. He's back to stealing our hotel room, I suppose.
Yeah.
The next side quest that I checked out back in Ruan was Jimmy. Jimmy, the man that we saved.
Me too. Check Jimmy. He's hanging out in the church. And we're like, why did you want us to meet you in church? And he's like, because I stand out here. It's just an interesting motive.
Yeah, he describes like, I wanted to be somewhere unusual so people would ask me why I'm there. Which sounds like a real, like, pick-me girl kind of behavior.
Yeah, but it's weird. Like,
but he tells us he's found a treasure map from Shermer, a famous pirate called Shermer.
And apparently the pirate really did exist. Chloe does know who he is, but Jimmy cannot believe that we haven't heard of him. He's like, what, are you not from here? And we're like, no. And he's like, well, how is it possible you haven't...
Yeah, it's like, are you not from here? You're not one of the 20 people I know in my entire life.
It's so weird. But so we go off to find it, and what you have to do to find it is basically walk through the water on the Gull Seaway or whatever it's called. Seagull Way, whatever it's called. It's like not a clear path. You have to just try walking through the water.
Before you leave though, Jimmy does give a parting shot where Chloe's trying to explain who Shermer is because she has the local knowledge. And he's like, hey, that girl in the shitty uniform is right. He just sort of blasts her for a uniform and then moves on with the conversation, which is so an interesting choice.
It's so weird.
Tracking down the treasure is really hard because they say from where he was looking when you found him and saved him on the beach, it's southeast. And I've played an RPG or two in my time, and normally when I get told something is in a position relative to something else, I expect it to be on the same map, which it's not.
No. I remembered where this was because I remembered that there was a weird water path, so I didn't actually have to do any like detective work. But it's super weird. It's like, I don't know how people find it.
Because it's 2 screens away, I think, from where you found him. It's not even just the next screen over. You have
it's a screen right next to Ruan.
Yeah. So I was at a loss. I had to use a guide because that wasn't very clearly signposted for me. A little annoying, but yeah, you go down this hidden sort of beach cliffside path that's only half illuminated on the map to kind of make it less obvious.
Yeah.
But inside you find a scrap of another map and...
Skull daggers, I think they're called, which is very piratey. We note that this probably came from a shipwreck. It probably was not buried there. But you go back and we give it to him and he's thrilled. And he's like, this is absolutely what I was looking for. And we're like, weren't you looking for a treasure? He goes, clearly the first treasure map was just a treasure map.
Obviously. And then we say, oh, do you want these like antique daggers that we found in there? And he says, no, you can have those, I guess. I just want the scrap of paper, which he's going to take to get assessed by someone named O'Neill.
Yeah, and then Chloe points out that O'Neill is the item shop owner near here, and that he's a bit of a fabulist who tells tall tales, and it sounds like Jimmy got wrapped up in these tall tales. But also, there's a moment where after he says this whole thing about how this is his treasure map or whatever, and Estelle and Chloe are like, Joshua has an amazing line where he goes, sometimes we have to just suspend our disbelief to get through the day. And I'm like, I love that. I love that. That's great.
He's just saying, let him have his moment.
I went to the item shop after that to see if Jimmy was there talking to O'Neill. He wasn't. I talked to O'Neill, and he didn't say anything about the pirates. He did comment that Erebonia used to be a really small country, and then they did imperialism, and that's how they're so big, which you could figure, but it's nice to know, because sometimes in JRPGs, a place will be called an empire, and there's no mention of them ever having done imperialism. It's just because they don't want everything to be called kingdom. So it is nice to get confirmation that this empire does empire things. Not that that's a good thing to do, but it's nice to know that, yes, it is in fact an empire. It's not just a weird naming convention. The next thing I did was delivery to the lighthouse.
Same. We've really gone like shot for shot this time.
Yeah, so I stopped at the Orphanage place, and they give us a kit to bring to the lighthouse and talk to Vote, and we're like, oh yeah, we know that asshole. And they kind of the guy comments that he used to be a fisherman here, and that he's really lonely and isolated out there, that it's really hard, it's a really rough job, it's just brutally lonely, and you kind of have to have some sympathy for him. But they also mentioned that they used to go drinking at the casino all the time together. And I went over and talked to, what was his name, Primo from the bar? Yes. And he mentions this guy, Vote, and he's like, I really miss him, I'd love to bring his favorite drink. And he gives me his favorite drink and says, this would go really good with a salted anchovy. And so that's a totally hidden thing, but you can bring him that too. So I did the same.
I went back to see Primo because I think they do mention at the store what the name of the drink is that he likes.
Yeah.
So having just been to Primo, I chatted him up, found out about his douchebag younger brother, and then just bought all the recipes, because this was when I'd realized that any recipe you eat, you learn. So I'd seen there was like a cocktail in there, and I was like, wicked. So I went and talked to him just in case I needed to get like a special version of the item for the quest. He gave me another one. He also says, like, if you can take it to him, that's great. If it doesn't make it, that's fine. So if you run out of health and you really need to drink that cocktail, that fruit cocktail mid-battle, you're good to go.
Your underage kids need a fruit cocktail to survive.
It's like, can you please Uber Eats this cocktail to my friend? Who they talk about, like, he can't ever come back to town, but it is like a 3-minute walk.
I guess, but he can't fight monsters, so it's probably like he needs to hire someone to escort him to town. And also, it sounds like he can't ever leave the lighthouse, because he can't, like, someone has to be working at all time and nobody else can do the job, so he just has to be on duty all the time, which sucks. So I went on the way,
I think there was a bit of flavor text that I got in the mission, because I'd done that lighthouse extermination previously. You mentioned that you've already met Vogt, whatever his name is, and they're like, oh, let me guess, he left the door open again. So it turns out that him letting monsters into the lighthouse is just a constant occurrence.
A regular occurrence, yeah. It's like, oh, buddy, he probably should have somebody else working with him, not just for his loneliness, but also because clearly it's a little too much for him all by himself.
He's getting on there, I think.
He's getting on
there.
Might
be having some trouble.
On the way, I stopped in Manoria Village because it's on the way, and I picked up the next quest just to, multitask, and a girl wants me to escort her uncle to Crone Pass. He wants to go, not to Bose, he wants to go to Crone Trail specifically for, some rare shit there, but when she goes to fetch him, he's already gone ahead. And so I was like, oh well. So I figure after I drop stuff off the lighthouse, I'll go off to Crone Pass. But I pick that up there, go to the lighthouse, bring the guy the maintenance stuff, and bring him the the cocktail and the anchovy, and he's so grateful for it. And I was like, aw, I kind of, you're such an asshole still, but you really are so lonely, clearly. I feel bad for you now.
He gets really hyped, yeah. You hand him his lighthouse kit, and he's like, yeah, thanks. And then we talked to your friends, and they said you like this cocktail, and you hand it over, and he's like, oh, this is dope. I wish I had something salty to go with it. And then Estelle, she's like, I've got one of those, which makes it sound like she fished a single anchovy out of her pocket and handed it to him.
Well, what's funny is I checked beforehand. So I was like, do I have any, or do I need to get one? And I had 49 salted anchovies in my pocket. So Estelle really does have some of those. I had 49.
Just sliding her hand into her pocket with the wettest sound. You're going,
oh, God.
Here you go.
I don't know why that's so funny to me, but it is.
It's like a fruit cocktail and an anchovy. That's such an odd combination to me as well.
Yeah. I've never had a fruity cocktail and been like, you know what would go well with this? And not just an anchovy, a salted anchovy.
Not just a salty fish, a saltier fish.
Yeah.
But yeah, wrap that one up. I hadn't originally grabbed the escort mission, so I had to backtrack and grab it. But then, yes, I headed on to the Crone Trail as well to find Mr. Uncle.
And you find him because the camera stops and you stop moving, and Estelle's like, "Oh my god!" And you pan down and see a man. And he looks familiar, but also a lot of NPCs have the same, model. So you're not sure if you know him or not. He's being attacked by some monsters, some boiled eggers. I still love that name so much. The boiled eggers. You fight the boiled eggers, and it turns out it's Orvid, the mushroom man from the prologue.
The mushroom guy. He also refers to Estelle's homely face. That's where that little reference
That's why
came
we've
from.
been saying that all this time.
It's funny in the moment that he sort of makes that point and then another thing about like his sales or something. But I only grabbed a screenshot of Estelle's response. So I have a screenshot of Estelle just saying, "Homely? Hey!" But now that you mention it. Which makes it sound like she's giving in. She's like, it's like, how dare you? Oh, no, I am.
But he's here looking for special herbs, and he mentions that this will go way better. So it turns out the weird mushroom was not a successful sale. So it's not a gourmet cooking item that Estelle's just never heard of. And nobody thinks it's good. But he's found some rare herbs here, so he hopes it'll go better. And then we escort him back to Manoria. And when we get back, he's like, "Well, I hope we can put everything in the past, everything behind us in the past, and, do business together in the future or something," and leaves. And then if you pop in to talk to his niece, she's like, "Oh, I wonder if he's okay." And he's like, "Oh, he's been here. He's off to Ruan." He didn't even stop in to let his family know he was okay. He just took off. He just said, "Fuck you." He even tells us when Estelle is like, "You should apologize to your niece for, like, leaving and making her work." He goes, "I guess after I finish my business in the capital, I'll go and apologize to her." It's like, you're right outside her door. But no, you're gonna go 2 regions over, do some shit there, and then come back, I guess, apologize. Like, what an asshole. I love him. Like, he's funny, but what an asshole.
A man would rather go to a business deal in the capital than talk to his niece.
Yeah. Or take accountability for being an ass. But that was the last of my side quests. It's accountability period, yeah. But that was the last of this sudden rush of side quests that are super short availability. And I could finally go to the fucking school.
Yeah, because all of these quests die the moment you go to the school. If you pick them up and then just checked the gate of Genis Academy, you failed all those quests.
Yeah,
and that is such a tight window because you are literally told to go to the school and then it is 2 screens away.
Yeah, you pass by it multiple times to do all these quests.
But I turned in all those side classes. I upgraded to 4th class Bracer at this point, so I'm really getting up the ranks
that's right,
now.
I did that too.
I'm so excited.
I'm really enjoying that. Gone so far.
But then it's off to the school.
Off to school, we get there and we look around, it's a nice campus, and Chloe tells us that, no, we should go talk to the dean now. Everyone's still in class. We should go talk to the dean, and that is where we stop for this episode. That's where we cut our cutoff point, which was a little more than I had thought. I had forgotten that all the side quests came up right before when I planned where we would divide this episode. So I apologize to you and myself and to everyone listening who might have thought this was going to be shorter than it was. But it was a lot of good stuff, I think, and the second half is even better. So I'm pretty excited for the next episode.
Based on that warning to tie everything off before you go to the school, it seems like it's going to be fully school festival, Genis Academy focused for the next little run till the end of the chapter. So I'm very excited to go to the school festival that everyone's so excited about.
There's some really good shit coming up you're gonna love.
Every time Chloe mentions that she's worried about the orphanage and the kids and the matron's like, "No, don't worry about us. Focus on the school festival."
Yeah. Like, she's saying that, like, the kids are looking forward to it, but I'm like, how much are these kids able to remember what they're looking forward to? Don't they get distracted by the next meal and forget that they thought the school festival sounded cool? Is it like, what? Anyway. But I'm very excited. I'm very excited for it. I don't know about the kids, but I am. And by the time we're done, you will be too. So...
I definitely, we got sort of a checklist of stuff that's going on. We've got the festival, so all kinds of events. There's food. We've got chocolate dipped poms to eat to find out if that is truly a piece of horror.
Oh God.
There's an old schoolhouse. There's stuff. Yeah. I'm excited. I can't wait. But that will be next episode.
Yeah. So we'll see you there. And next episode, we're going to play all the way until the end of chapter 2. So that's a much easier ending point to note than whenever I give my weird mid-chapter checkpoints. So, but I thank you all for listening and for playing along. As always, you can find us on the OrbitalNet at trailspod.online, on Blue Sky, Twitter, and Instagram at trailspod, or you can send us an email at trails2trails@gmail.com for any kind of comments or criticism or corrections, or hopefully it's all compliments. On the next episode, as I've said, we'll be finishing Chapter 2. See you all next time.
Bye! And at this point, I'm like, do I go back and edit in myself doing a Phantom Thief B voice? Because I can't remember what his voice sounds like. It's like, oh, yes, or something, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's like a, oh, yes. Oh, yeah,
I'm Phantom Thief B. All right, let's try this.
Yeah, that works.